the low 40s and just wait for the snow to come in tonight after you've really enjoyed just a beautiful spring day here in Boston. I was just reading a tweet from my buddy Rob Macedo, who was retweeting a Boston forecaster. And I think this is interesting to kind of note this. Heavy wet snow overnight, Boston Providence corridor. We talked about that. One of the model ensembles showing a swath of 6 to 10 inches, 2-inch per hour rates, assuming 10-to-1 ratio, impacting deeper in the interior. Power outage threat actually goes up with this scenario across Mass, Rhode Island, with temps near 32 degrees. So, maybe even if we get an 8-to-1 ratio in some of these spots, which we could, Postel and I were just talking about the fact that this could be certainly closer to the coast. But if you're traveling in, a lot of folks either head out of town on a Sunday or head into town, obviously, to get back after a weekend out. I think for the most part, the I-95 corridor is going to be okay. So our winter storm warnings are Philly, up through the tri-state, up into Boston, all right? And that's where we're going to see the airport problems, but I think they'll be after the max traffic, if that makes sense. I think D.C., the rain, the low clouds move on in. You're not even under an advisory there, but you certainly have a chance of getting into that. But the I-95, that's the big call. Will it be a situation where at some point tonight, especially if you're traveling after midnight, do we crash over to heavy wet snow with these intense snowfall rates that we're talking about? And it certainly looks like the best chance of that will be from Providence up to Boston versus Providence to the south and west of that. And then tomorrow morning, it's going to end rapidly before the sun comes up. New York, Hartford, Providence, and the all just will deal with that. Plus temperatures, guys, are going to be, let's face it, marginal. So the salt's going to work great, assuming we don't have super intense rates, Liana. And certainly tomorrow, the sun, once it comes back out, is going to help really melt away the snow. So that's one great thing about March snow events. The sun helps you out big time. Unfortunately, the sun also helps us create instability. And that's what we're worried about in the south today with the threat of severe storms.
Yeah, it's a completely different threat from what you're facing overnight tonight across much of the Northeast. But as we get into the next couple of hours, even now, we do have our first severe thunderstorm warning already been issued just south of Jackson. So now, as we take a look at I-20, we do have you in the danger zone. Again, Jackson, you do have soggy conditions, a great chance of thunderstorms as well. And of course, we do have the warnings out there as well. But tornadoes, strong damaging winds, and even quarter-size hail, all possible in this zone right here. The best chance in that darker red just south of Atlanta. Much of Alabama, much of central Alabama, in fact, is definitely a possibility to see that threat. So the storms are already going. There's that warned area, that warned storm down here. This is the line that is going to be most concerning. It's really going to reinvigorate in a way. It's just going to be blossoming as we get into the next several hours. It's going to be overriding a very warm air mass. It's already very humid and lots of lightning associated with them. This is headed straight east due to Hattiesburg. So heads up for you. You could be seeing some pretty intense, strong winds associated with that storm. All right. Well, researchers say we're quickly embracing the frequency of extreme weather like the Arctic blast that's on the way as our new normal. And that could skew our perception of climate change. All right, let's talk to the lead author of the study, Frances C. Moore. She's an assistant professor in the Department of Environmental Science and Policy at the University of California, Davis. Actually, that's my alma mater. All right, well, thanks so much for joining us. Let's talk about what your research says about why we're normalizing extreme weather.
Yeah, so what we did was we looked at the tweets in the United States for the last about 3 years, and we pulled out the tweets that were about weather. And so using that, we can quantify kind of just how remarkable people think certain types of weather conditions are. And what we were able to show is kind of very, very hot and very, very cold temperatures. Those generate a lot of comment, right? Kind of people are out there talking about them. But if you start having those conditions kind of say 2, 3, 4, 5 years in a row, then people really stop talking about it quite quickly. And what that suggests is people are starting to kind of take these conditions that happen over, say, the last 5 years and think of them as normal conditions, even when historically they actually might still be quite unusual.
Yeah, I mean, it's just fascinating, and I love my time at UC Davis, where it is a very research-based school. I love it. So according to your research, how does that impact our perception of climate change?
Yeah, so the risk is that because climate change does happen fairly gradually, and it certainly happens kind of more slowly than the 5-year time frame that we see as the rate at which people adjust their ideas of normal, then when people think about the weather and think, wow, this really feels cold, their idea of what the weather should feel like might already have a lot of climate change kind of baked into it. And then the risk is that because your ideas of normal conditions are changing quite quickly, we might get into the state where the climate has changed a lot, and as our kind of human perception of what it feels like, does it feel really hot or not, kind of isn't really able to keep track of that.
And based on your research, we have about 20 seconds, but what weather conditions did people normalize the most?
Yeah, so it looked like we saw a lot going on at cold temperatures. So kind of what we're experiencing right now. So they're very remarkable, but it also seemed to be the case that people kind of normalize them really quite quickly.
All right, Frances C. Moore, thank you so much for joining us from UC Davis. And yeah, fascinating stuff right there, especially in these times. So you want to keep it right here on the Weather Channel. We have crews in the path of Winter Storm Scott. We'll have continuing coverage of this winter storm until 8 p.m. Eastern as it moves through the Midwest and treks to the Northeast.
It takes a relentless attention to detail, a passion to protect people from the elements. But most of all, it takes a guarantee that you're as ready for anything as we are. At the Weather Channel, our gear means everything. And whatever the weather, you'll find us there proudly wearing Land's End. Because Land's End stands behind everything they make. So we know they could stand behind us. The official outfitter of the Weather Channel is Land's End. Guaranteed. Period.
Tech can move you. The best tech can move the world. De-stress your drive with the all-new 2019 Nissan Altima. Impossibly smart.
You haven't seen the sun in like forever, so you search for a beach vacation. Sunny beaches, sandy beaches, big beaches, small beaches, until you're lost, searching for surfing dogs. But then you find VRBO, and they search millions of homes to find you the perfect beach house, where you all find your own rooms and a grill bigger than your kitchen back home. And finding out about the girl he likes at school warms your heart even more than the sun. From beach houses to cabins to condos, find vacation homes that match you with VRBO.
Okay, Max, time to help Mrs. Tyler reach her health goals. I'm in. But first, shelf me. Oh, yeah.
The great tasting nutrition of Ensure with up to 30 grams of protein and 26 vitamins and minerals. Ensure for strength and energy.
Na, 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 na. Na, 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 na. Hey, hey, hey. Goodbye.
The world's first 6-function multi-pro tailgate, available only on the next generation GMC Sierra.
Now, we're bringing you all the ways to get what you need. Target run and done.
And Doug.
What do all these people have in common, Limu? Exactly. Nothing. They're completely different people. That's why they need customized car insurance from Liberty Mutual. They'll only pay for what they need. Yes, and they could save a ton. You've done it again, Limu.
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty. Welcome back to Weekend Recharge. We have a growing risk now for severe thunderstorms and tornadoes across parts of the Deep South. Let's look at the radar, and you can see kind of the area that we're focusing our attention on right now. It is in that zone from eastern Mississippi, Alabama, and eventually we'll get it into Georgia. Be very aware of the rapid changes that we expect in the weather conditions today across this part of the country. We already have a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings out. This one in Mississippi, Jefferson, Davis, Lawrence, and Marion counties. These thunderstorms are along a line extending from Mississippi into parts of Alabama, and you can see this severe thunderstorm is moving eastward at about 35 miles per hour. So if you live in Hattiesburg, watch to the west. Here comes the storm that's got the capability of producing some damaging winds, small hail. And as we go forward during the next few hours, these storms will be moving into an environment that is more supportive of tornadoes. So some of these storms in this very same line may actually carry that risk with them as that risk grows during the day, with the expectation that a tornado watch is going to come out across parts of Alabama and Georgia over the next, well, soon, maybe in the next hour, maybe in the next 2, but the air mass across this region is growing more favorable for that kind of thunderstorm. The winds aloft are supportive of rotating storm supercells with the capability of large hail and even a couple of tornadoes. As the sun is coming out and the cape, the buoyancy is going up. So we will watch this whole nasty cluster of storms here moving eastward, and that will be the theme going forward through the late morning and early afternoon hours. All of this is happening in an area that earlier today, the Storm Prediction Center spot on said this is the area to watch most closely for the greatest risk for severe thunderstorms. And I would say, indeed, watch out in Alabama and parts of Georgia from about Macon and Americus on south and westward from there, maybe into the North Florida Panhandle, because later on today, this area of low pressure here will help organize those winds even at the surface a little bit more to allow some of those vertical profiles of wind, the wind shear, to do just the right thing to produce some tornadic thunderstorms, we think, right in that zone, along and south of that track and ahead of that cold front. This is a little narrow warm sector, but it is going to be capable, again, of producing bad thunderstorms with the winds aloft increasing today, strong winds, capable of organizing those storms into lines and maybe even into discrete cells out ahead of that line. Those could be the ones that have the best chance for producing tornadoes later on today. Watch out for that. The instability, not on the high end, and that may be one limitation, one thankful limitation in this, but it will be enough. It will be enough, especially now that we're starting to see breaks in the clouds come out across parts of Georgia and Alabama. That cape, that instability is enough to support that severe weather threat. So timing it out to give you an idea of when and where those thunderstorms are going to be today. Don't take this verbatim. You know, this is one forecast trying to explicitly represent each individual thunderstorm. But the idea overall is very clear that from, well, I'll even say from Atlanta through Macon, down through Dothan, Alabama, very close to it, and into parts of the Florida Panhandle, that line or broken line of thunderstorms moving through will be the worst of all those thunderstorms. They will likely weaken, say by 9, 10 o'clock, and finally move offshore shortly thereafter, completely eliminating the thunderstorm risk and much colder and drier air moving in from an area actually where our own Reynolds Wolf is, where the cold and snow is ongoing in St. Louis as we speak. Some of that air is coming south. Reynolds, take it away.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, cold air waits for no man. It's going to make its way across the south, and I'll tell you, the cold air, although it's cold enough to produce the snowfall, this really isn't the cold sledgehammer that we're going to be dealing with. That's going to come in tomorrow, and it is going to be just insane to deal with. Right now, the snow, quite beautiful here in Keener Plaza, right in the heart of St. Louis. We pan over this direction, move the camera that direction, you see the old courthouse, and beyond that, the gateway to the west, which the view is actually towards the east. And beyond that, you just have that wall of snow which continues to come down. The snow is beautiful. What we're about to show you, though, now is not. This is Interstate 44. You'll notice right there in the middle of it, you've got a jackknife tractor trailer. This happened a few hours ago, but I'll tell you, this sight could be commonplace if you're not careful out there. Certainly a lot of folks on the roadways going at a high rate of speed with the snow coming down. It's a bad equation, and it's a bad one. I mean, it truly is, so you got to be careful when you're out and about. Thing to tell you, we're going to see the snow continue throughout the late morning hours. Then around 10, 11, 12 o'clock or so, or actually getting around 1 or 2, we should begin to see it fizzle out a bit. And when it does, that's when we have the envelopment of the colder, drier air that's going to come on through. And that is going to be the thing that, although it's going to be looking better tomorrow, it is going to be a lot colder. So a lot of what you see falling now is just going to, wow, it's going to be like concrete, sticking to a lot of things, bridges, overpasses, sidewalks, a big mess for a lot of folks. So got to be careful. I know, folks, you got spring on the brain, right? But it's winter that we're dealing with. It's going to be an unwanted guest that's going to stick around for a bit, but eventually we're going to get that full taste of spring. We've got just going to put the brakes on a little bit, Liana. Can't wait till it gets here.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, it's just oh, so close. All right, thanks so much, Reynolds. Well, we have much more to cover here on Weekend Recharge. Take out the aspirin because some of you are about to have a travel headache. You can blame it on Winter Storm Scott. You want to keep it right here on the Weather Channel. We have crews in the path of Scott. We'll have continuing coverage of this winter storm until 8 p.m. Eastern as it moves towards the northeast.
They're America's biopharmaceutical researchers, driven each day to pursue life-changing cures in a country built on fostering innovation. Here they find breakthroughs, like a way to fight cancer by arming a patient's own T-cells, and a new therapy that gives the blind a working gene so they can see again. Because it's not just about the next breakthrough, it's all the ones after that.
Where did you go? Nacho Fries Retrieval has critics raving. A flavor-packed ride you won't want to end, says Hollywood Reporter. Maybe the most important film about fries this year. Taco Bell's Nacho Fries, now serving for a limited time.
Ageless Male is now the #1 brand in male enhancement because of our record-breaking free testosterone pill, our rapid nitric oxide booster, and our best-selling formula for boosting your total testosterone. Ageless Male. Be the man you want to be.
Super Emma just about sleeps in her cape. But when we realized she was battling sensitive skin, we switched to Tide Pods Free and Gentle. It's gentle on her skin and dermatologist recommended. Tide Free and Gentle. Safe for skin with psoriasis and eczema.
How would I describe overpaying on a used car? It was humiliating, and it's expensive. I just trusted the wrong used car sites.
Carfax has a better way. Only Carfax.com can give you the most accurate price based on the Carfax report. So you never have to overpay on a used car again.
But I guess life goes on. So, all right, come on, boy. Here we go. Let's go, buddy.
Stop the shame of overpaying and start your used car search today at the all-new Carfax.com.
It's nice to know you can be all in, even when your bladder isn't. Poise liners have a clean and fresh layer and stay 5 times drier, so you can stay you and stay amazing. Poise, the #1 brand for light bladder leaks.
What average work pants move like? What Duluth Flex Fire Hose work pants move like? Duluth Flex Fire Hose Work Pants. Stick it to stiff. Only at Duluth stores and DuluthTrading.com.
Never Ending is now even better at Olive Garden. All new Never Ending stuffed pasta starting at $12.99. Pick your favorite stuffed pasta, sauce, and topping. It's all Never Ending. All new Never Ending stuffed pastas, only for a limited time at Olive Garden.
All right, guys, we are going to have a busy evening for snowplows in New England. Crews having to clear up 5 inches off the roads yesterday in Connecticut when the old sneaky snow, as we called it, worked its way on through. Most of this, again, in southern Connecticut. Rhode Island, Massachusetts, not void of snow either, as it was pretty slippery travel. We had some power outages, but thank goodness no major accidents reported in through here. The State's Department of Transportation says more than 630 plows and 200 private contractors are ready to hit the roads today. Well, hey, we hit the road. We actually came up Beacon Hill a little bit here. This is known as the Frog Pond here at the Boston Common. Look at all the folks out there skating today. Just having a good old time. I mean, it is a beautiful, beautiful early March day here in Boston. We're in the low 40. I mean, you just could not ask for better weather. And everybody's going to enjoy their day today. And then boom, here comes the weather tonight. And the heaviest will be, well, mostly everybody's sleeping. Now, that's the good news for the airports as well. All right? Your delays for Boston will be nil today. If you've got a midnight flight, maybe. Okay, but who has that, right? International flights, maybe. So JFK, LaGuardia, Newark, depending on when we change over, if we change over there quickly before, the maximum flight period this evening, you'll have issues. But I think for the most part, the I-95 airports are going to do okay today as this storm comes in. I mean, we really haven't seen the main precipitation shield make its way into the Northeast yet. So I-95, Liana, looks pretty good. Roads impacted tomorrow. Certainly the drive from Worcester on the Mass Pike into Boston could be impacted in the morning. But the good news is, again, the snow will be tapering off pretty quickly at even the beginning of rush hour, we think. So as long as road crews can get out tonight, they can keep up with it. And the sun coming out tomorrow is really going to help remove this snow in a hurry. Can you believe this is going to be our biggest snow of the season for Boston?
It's actually kind of
That's
sad,
unbelievable.
yeah, right? I mean, especially when we think about last year, how we had the 4 nor'easters in the month of March. I mean, it's still hope for us to see some decent snow in this next month, but still, it's been pretty slow going, right? All right, well, not so slow for New York. I mean, we're going to see that snow creep into view as we get into late this afternoon, a little bit earlier than you in Boston. We're expecting a little slushy mix of rain and snow developing between 2 to 4 p.m. Then you see the snow continuing through the late evening hours all the way into early tomorrow morning. Now notice the temperatures are still just above freezing as we get into daybreak. It's still seeing that chance for some of that to melt off, especially as we have a lot of sunshine in place. But we're still talking about half a foot of snow, so possible, 6 to 7 inches across New York. Long Island, you're going to be an interesting one to watch and driving through I-495. I-495. That was weird. All right, 7 to 9 inches is possible across northern Long Island, but down to the south, Massapequa, you're looking at 5 to 4 inches possibly. So that'll be an interesting one to keep a close eye on for sure. Pittsburgh, we have the timing for you starting in the next hour or so, and that's where you're going to see that snow continue through late this evening, drying out into the overnight hours. But unfortunately for you, you will be dealing with the possibility for slick roads as temperatures remain way below freezing, well into the 20s. Overall, we can't expect 1 to 2 inches, and this is a time where we do see a lot of our accidents. People take for granted when they're hitting the roads just a couple of inches of snow, but that's where we do have the highest amount of accidents happen versus a foot of snow where people tend to slow down. Albany, New York, you're expected to see that snow kick into gear closer to 8, 9, 10 p.m. Snowy conditions continue through early tomorrow morning. Your morning commute, especially around 6, 7 a.m., you might still be seeing some snow lingering, but it will be tapering off, drying out. We do have those temperatures right around freezing, so the grassy surfaces, especially over bridges and overpasses, slow down because it could still be very, very dicey. 2 to 3 inches is expected across Albany. But snowy conditions threaten the safety of a young driver, and he has to work fast. Here's a preview of tonight's new episode of Heavy Rescue.
Visibility is like dropping by the minute. Cars are going into the ditches right now. Oh, wow, he went in pretty good. So right now, I'm just trying to dig this car out so I can find something to hook onto. She's buried pretty good, so I don't want to wreck anything underneath. Oh, okay, that's deep. This is really hard-packed snow. This car is just wedged in there. We can't even stop the traffic. They don't care enough to slow down for us. Oh, that was nasty on the face. Right now, I'm just trying to get something underneath this thing that... Oh, there we go. To hook it. Okay, let's see if this thing will come out for us. Oh, come on. The cable's binding up. This is a horrible time for stuff to break on me. It's getting really nasty, and the longer that I'm standing, the more chances of me getting hit.
Catch a new episode of Heavy Rescue tonight at 9, 8 Central, right here on the Weather Channel. And still ahead on Weekend Recharge, weather during the month of March can be a beast. We'll break down why we see dangerous winter storms pitting up one last fight before spring. And keep it here, right here on the Weather Channel. We have crews in the path of Winter Storm Scott. We'll have continuing coverage of this winter storm until 8 p.m. Eastern as it moves through the Midwest and treks into the Northeast.
What should we do with it first?
Road trip.
Yes. Off-road trip.
How hot is the Diablo chili?
Well, you gotta sign a waiver. You folks need bear repellent? Nah, we're good.
Yes.
It's a big world. Our new Forester just made it even bigger.
So, what should we do second?
The 2019 Subaru Forester, the most adventurous Forester ever.
I think I finally found my hallelujah. I've been waiting for this moment.
Book now and enjoy free unlimited open bar and more. Norwegian Cruise Line. Feel free.
From our store to your car door. Choose Drive Up at Target.
TGI Fridays Big Ribs. Bigger, bolder, meatier. Just $12.99 for a full rack and 2 sides. TGI Fridays, where every night the apps are endless.
For a nasty cold, take new Dayquil Severe with Vicks VapoCool and vaporize it with an intense rush of Vicks Vapors. New Dayquil Severe with Vicks VapoCool. The daytime coughing, stuffy head, vaporize your cold medicine.
Congrats, Kim. You got your own car with your own insurance.
No more driving that old hand-me-down.
Did you trade it in?
My parents handed it down to my little brother.
You ready?
Yeah. Surprise! No. Not Beige Betty. You guys can't do this to me. Seriously?
My car is like a rite of passage.
How do you expect me to drive this?
Just turn the key and yeah, it's just
Some of this?
It's automatic, dual cup holders.
Go with the one that's here to help life go right. State Farm.
Men, want to get your edge back after 40? Get more energy, drive, performance. Do what the big hurt Frank Thomas did.
You look lean, Frank. What gives?
After 40, men slow down. It's harder to stay in shape.
Why?
Our free testosterone levels drop. It happened to me, and then I found Nugenix Total T.
New Nugenix Total T is our most powerful man-boosting formula ever because it boosts your free testosterone and your total testosterone. From the brand that brought you GNC's #1 vitality product, Nugenix Total T helps provide even more energy, performance, testosterone, and muscle-boosting ingredients for even better results. To get your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, text IDEA to 231231.
You'll feel like a new man on the field and off the field.
I gotta try Nugenix Total T.
Text IDEA to 231231 now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. That's IDEA to 231231.
Time to go to work.
We do whatever we have to do to keep this highway open.
Whoa.
This is crazy. Heavy Rescue, tonight at 9 on the Weather Channel.
A winter storm warning is in effect. Currently in our area, 41 degrees under partly cloudy skies. Today, rain mixed with snow during the afternoon. High 41. Snow accumulations less than 1 inch. Tonight, periods of snow. Low 33. Monday, mainly clear.
High 38. Winds northwest at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Well, look who decided to show up. We got the Archback. After all morning, we've had the snow coming through, and we've seen a little bit of a disappearing act. Every now and then you'll see the silhouette. But now, in all of its 630 feet splendor, there it sits. Construction on that ended back in 1965. Now, before that, you see, of course, the courthouse dusted with some light snowfall, and there's more where that came from. Welcome back, everyone. You're watching continued coverage of Winter Storm Scott, which has dumped, I'd say, anywhere from 2 to 3 inches of snowfall. I'm meteorologist Reynolds Wolf, and we're going to see this begin to fizzle out, and the sun, which was trying to make an appearance earlier, will make an appearance later this afternoon as the snow moves out. But then we've got something else that's going to slide right into the region, and that is going to be the colder air. We're talking very, very cold air. Earlier this morning in Montana, there was a report of minus 54 degrees in terms of wind chill. Now, it's not going to be quite that cold here in St. Louis, but tomorrow morning we could have single digits with wind chills that could be sub-zero. Wow. Just knocks you off your feet. It does, folks. But sure enough, it is a sure sign that even though we've got spring on the brain, winter is saying, hey, not so fast. I'm going to own this for a little bit. Leon, I'm telling you, these are the reasons, conditions like this are the reasons why Florida was invented. I'm convinced of that. Yeah.
That's a good one. I like that. Well, everyone flocked to Florida because that's why it was created, obviously. Well, let's talk more snow, right? Well, let's turn to the calendar back to March 2018. Last year, most of us think March, yay, it's spring. Yeah, spring is right around the corner, but the worst of winter isn't necessarily behind us. Last March featured 4 nor'easters during the first 3 weeks of the month. First up, Winter Storm Riley. This nor'easter battered the New England shore with giant waves. Riley prompted wind and coastal flood alerts for as many as 56 million of you. 9 deaths across 6 states related to this storm. Winter Storm Quinn followed Riley by just 1 week. It was a coast-to-coast storm before turning into a nor'easter for the I-95 corridor. Quinn linked to 10 deaths. And Winter Storm Skylar made its appearance less than a week after Quinn. It targeted parts of the Northeast with blizzard-like conditions. Boston's St. Patrick's Day parade went ahead, but organizers modified the route to avoid the biggest snow piles. And then there's Toby, the 4th nor'easter of March 2018. This winter storm spread snow from the mid-Atlantic into Maine. Toby also shut schools down in Baltimore, Boston, New York City, even Philadelphia. This nor'easter was linked to 4 deaths. So yes, we can get some big storms in March. And Dr. Postel, you got proof in the pudding.
Yeah, we have this data from Brian Bretschneider, a climatologist in Alaska, which shows what is the snowiest month of the winter season across the lower 48. And you might think it's March, but in the Northeast, and we'll focus on the Northeast because there's snow coming tonight. But the snowiest month in this region, in those areas in blue, is actually January, and the areas in sort of pink is February, not March.
It's so interesting because, you know, I mean, we see these last year numbers with 4 nor'easters, and you're like,
right.
Okay, it's got to be March as well. I mean, it's still winter technically, and the data doesn't prove that at all.
That's a really good point. I mean, we're just coming off of a year where March showed so much snow and winter weather in the Northeast, where you can get snow, but not as much as we saw last year. Here's a map of the average amount of snowfall that you get after March. And again, in the Northeast part of the country, you know, it's 3 to 6, 6 to 12 for the amount of snow that you get after March 1st, but not like what we saw last year, and certainly not what you can get when you look at the record books.
Yeah, so I mean, especially when we look at these numbers, I mean, it's crazy that, you know, what we're looking at, some of the numbers look kind of low to me.
Yeah, these are the averages, right? So typically March in the East and even in the Midwest in some of these cities doesn't come with a ton of snow, but as we mentioned, like last year, it can happen. Here are those records.
It's insane. I mean, 41 inches. And that was a while ago, 1993, since we've seen those kind of numbers come through in March. So why the differences? I mean, why haven't we seen that much snow in March recent years?
Well, this year we haven't seen those big Northeast winter storms, those blizzards, those nor'easters. That really hasn't been the dominant mode of storm system in the eastern part of the country. So we haven't seen an all-out blitz of snow in the Northeast this year. And even though we'll get some more snow tonight, still going forward, it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. We'll see if that happens. But you can see that while March doesn't often, on average, produce a ton of snow, these are the record amounts for the month. And it can, just doesn't do it that often.
Yeah, and then, I mean, when we look at numbers like this, especially when we see Boston, where we've been in a snow deficit, really, this season.
That's right. And we'll talk about this next storm coming in, because that's going to add to our deficits that you mentioned. We haven't seen much snow in Boston this year compared to average. But some more is coming tomorrow, and tonight, actually in particular, and early tomorrow, to these amounts. Find your spot on the map. There's some risk in this forecast to bust in certain places. I'll talk about that at the top of the hour.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Dr. Postel. All right. Well, still ahead on Weekend Recharge. South Carolina started the weekend with this confirmed tornado in Abbeville. And now there's a new tornado threat hanging over almost every single state in the South. So you want to keep it right here on the Weather Channel. We have crews in position across the path of Winter Storm Scott. We'll have continuing coverage of this winter storm until 8 p.m. Eastern as it moves through the Midwest and treks into the Northeast.
I didn't really know anything about my family history. Went to Ancestry. I put in the names of my grandparents first. I got a leaf right away. A leaf is a hint that is connected to each person in your family tree. I learned that my 10 times great grandmother is George Washington's aunt. Within a few days, I went from knowing almost nothing to, holy crow, I'm related to George Washington. This is my cousin George.
Discover your story. Start searching for free now at Ancestry.com.
It takes a relentless attention to detail, a passion to protect people from the elements. But most of all, it takes a guarantee that you're as ready for anything as we are. At the Weather Channel, our gear means everything. And whatever the weather, you'll find us there proudly wearing Land's End. Because Land's End stands behind everything they make. So we know they could stand behind us. The official outfitter of the Weather Channel is Land's End. Guaranteed. Period.
I'm 53, but in my mind, I'm still 35. That's why I take Osteo Biflex, to keep me moving the way I was made to. It nourishes and strengthens my joints for the long term. Osteo Biflex, because I'm made to move.
The right tech can move you. The best tech can move the world. De-stress your drive with the all-new 2019 Nissan Altima. Impossibly smart.
All right, I brought in Ensure Max Protein to give you the protein you need with less of the sugar you don't. I'll take that.
30 grams of protein and 1 gram of sugar. Ensure Max Protein in 2 great flavors.
TGI Fridays Big Ribs. Bigger, bolder, meatier. Just $12.99 for a full rack and 2 sides. TGI Fridays, where every night the apps are endless.
Na 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 na.
Na 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 na. Hey, hey, hey. Goodbye. Hey, goodbye.
The world's first 6-function multi-pro tailgate. Available only on the next generation GMC Sierra.
All right, everybody, ahead on Weekend Recharge. Damaging storms posing a threat to millions across the South. We're already watching the Storm Prediction Center monitoring an area for an increasing likelihood for tornadoes. We'll update you on that in just a moment. At this hour, 80 million of you under winter weather alerts as Winter Storm Scott continues its trek through the plains on its way to the Northeast. And in the South, speaking of that tornado threat, 12 million of you facing that threat today, with people all the way from Mississippi into Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina. Already some cleanup underway from a tornado yesterday in South Carolina. And as Winter Storm Scott moves on out tomorrow. A new challenge. Bitterly cold temperatures, record-setting lows. Oh, just when you thought winter licked, especially in Florida. We're going to get cold by midweek, but it won't last all that long. Hey, welcome to Weekend Recharge, everybody. I'm meteorologist Jim Cantori here in the Boston Common. You're looking at the frog pond behind me, which is cranking on this beautiful spring day here in the Commonwealth. Absolutely gorgeous, and everybody's out. They're doing some skating, walking, running. Just ran into my old buddy Eric Fisher. He's out to training for the Boston Marathon today. The Poochers are out in full force. They're enjoying just a gorgeous day today. We got Reynolds Wolf in St. Louis. You see he's already into the snow. That's the same snow, by the way, that's coming this way. But the forecast, a little less clear cut here in Boston than it is in St. Louis. Liana Brackett in studio holding down the fort, and Dr. Greg Postel perusing the latest data, sometimes scratching his head. Is it going to be coastal or not? We had 2 inches of snow yesterday, believe it or not, was the number 5 largest snowfall of the season for Boston. We're going to change that, though, over the next 24 hours. All right, again, as I mentioned, the tornado threat. Let's talk about yesterday. NWS confirming an EF0 tornado that knocked out trees and ripped off roofs in Abbeville, South Carolina. Several power poles snapped when the twister came through, packing winds of 85 miles an hour. It cut a path of damage for about 1.5 miles. Thankfully, no deaths reported in this one, and hopefully that'll hold true for today. We want you to be ready for this threat today because things starting to ramp up a little bit in terms of the atmospherics. Let's bring in Dr. Greg Postel to talk about just that. And Postel, as you look at things changing, what is exactly happening? Is this better instability coming? Is this better wind shear profiles? Are these discrete cells that are starting to develop? What do you see going on right now across Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia?
I think what's happening is that perhaps we're starting to see more CAPE, more instability develop, certainly at least in the near term than maybe prior suggestions, because that, I think, has been until now one of the limiting factors. And, you know, we've always thought along that there could be a lot of severe weather today, especially in that zone where we see lots of rain and thunderstorms moving in. But I think one of the limiting factors, which was instability, may not be so limiting anymore. We're starting to see perhaps more sunshine break out ahead of these storms right now, and some other things coming together to maybe give us an increased threat for severe weather than even we thought a few hours ago. So let's have a look at what we've got now, though. We've got severe thunderstorms moving through eastern Mississippi. We've got Jasper and Jones counties under a severe thunderstorm warning for a line of storms, and embedded in that, some areas where winds could exceed 50 or 60 miles per hour with some small hail potentially. That whole line is moving eastward fairly quickly at about 35 to 40 miles per hour. But out ahead of that line, the Storm Prediction Center very recently outlined an area where a tornado watch will likely be coming soon, if not in the next hour, shortly thereafter. As I said, this environment out here is becoming progressively more supportive of severe weather. The winds aloft have been sort of well advertised to be strong enough to support severe weather. But I think it's the instability. We're starting to see a lot of clouds break out, and bingo, check this out. My weather producer, Matt Reagan, thank you very much. We just got this tornado watch in from the Storm Prediction Center until 6 o'clock tonight. That does go all the way as far west as northeastern Louisiana, southern Mississippi, and Alabama. And that does go all the way to the Georgia border. I have a sneaking suspicion that we will see more tornado watches, or at least another one that will extend into Georgia. Don't lose sight of that. If you live in Macon or Albany, Georgia, there is severe weather coming your way that may include thunderstorms with a tornado risk, much like the sort of overall outlook for today includes. This area in red outlined by the Storm Prediction Center for the threat today in general does include Georgia and parts of South Carolina for the possibility of severe weather, including tornadoes, as this batch of nasty storms continues to move eastward and probably get stronger as it does. One of the reasons why it's going to get stronger is because this area of low pressure, which later on today and maybe argue even a couple of hours, will be getting stronger. These fronts will tighten up. This warm sector will get more unstable. The winds aloft, strong enough already, probably going to get stronger, and the buoyancy or the CAPE, the instability, whichever word you want to use, will also get higher and more supportive of severe weather. And as I said, this one, which was kind of the limiting factor earlier on, may be less of a limiting factor going forward. Here's one of the models suggesting where those storms will be during the afternoon hours. And you could argue that by 4 o'clock, perhaps all the way from maybe just east of Atlanta, Macon, Georgia, down through parts of southeastern Alabama and parts of the Florida Panhandle, there will be a line of thunderstorms. And inside of that, we think the chance for some of those to have tornadoes in them and also carry, regardless of tornadoes, that line of storms carrying with it a damaging wind threat. There are all kinds of weather hazards to deal with, Liana, in the south. Stay tuned for all the latest updates. The good news is by 11 and 12 o'clock tonight, I'm going to send it back to you. The storm threat should be over. Take it away.
All right. Thanks so much, Dr. Postel. Let's go ahead and show you what's happening with the central part of the country and the winter weather focus. Through this evening, we still have winter storm warnings as well as winter weather advisories up in place from the plains all the way stretching into the Midwest. A couple of spots like Wichita, you're kind of on that boundary of the warning area. But overall, National Weather Service offices have issued those, and we can't expect travel to be dangerous, all thanks to this low. That is Winter Storm Scott on the upper level surfaces of the atmosphere. We have at the lower surfaces, we do have this low pressure system that's going to be developing. We do have a very unique thing that's happening. We have Atlantic moisture streaming from east to west, but we also have Gulf moisture feeding into this source, and it's going to be overriding some very cold air. That is where we get some of that chances for snow, still even behind the quick motion of Winter Storm Scott. So let's go ahead and check in on where Scott is right now. It's slow, actually, why am I saying slowly? It's quickly moving east. I mean, it's almost out of the state of Missouri, and it's heading into the Ohio River Valley as we speak. So still seeing some snow for St. Louis, and it's starting to taper off just a little bit, but we can still expect a couple inches left over. As we zoom in on St. Louis, you're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel, just out west towards I-70. Springfield still seeing some of the snow. Peoria, you're getting ready to see it taper off for you as well. Indianapolis, though, now you're feeling the brunt of it. You're going to be in a period of time where you're going to see a couple of hours of heavier snow. Let's time it out starting at noon. St. Louis still holding strong as we get through Central Time. Starting to taper off over the next couple of hours, but then Indianapolis, that shifts over you. Some lighter snow after 2 p.m. for Indianapolis, and then quickly by about 4 or 5 p.m., it's out of our hair across the plains. So with that said, we still have another inch of snow possible, up to an inch in St. Louis, 1 to 3 just east of you. Indianapolis, up to an inch of snow for you as well through the rest of this evening, really over the next couple of hours. All right, St. Louis, here we go. One last little hour of snow, then drying out, but also we have those temperatures plummeting into the teens. We bottom out early tomorrow morning at around 11 degrees. Yes, very, very cold temperatures coming into gear. But let's go ahead and talk about where Scott is going to be heading next. Winter Storm Scott is going to be heading towards Jim in Boston, where it's actually an absolutely beautiful day out there. But Jim, I mean, how tempted are you to just run out there and frolic in the snow?
You have no idea. As a matter of fact, I just had to, my cameraman, and my audio guy just had to tackle my producer, Steve Pederak, because he's an old skater from way back when, an old hockey player. You know those hockey players, when they see ice, they're like a dog chasing a bone. They want to get out there and get after it. So, this is a beautiful day, obviously. This is what you call the frog pond here at the Boston Common. Let's take you down here, show you what it looks like, get closer up. Now, the ice is a little on the slushy side, but I don't think anybody minds. It's really nice out here, just a perfect average March day here in Boston. When the sun comes out, it's actually even a little bit warm. When it goes beyond the clouds, like it has now here for at least a few moments, you got to throw another layer on. So it's one of those kind of days, certainly here in March. Believe it or not, yesterday, guys, we had our 5th highest snow total of the season in Boston. I know, I shook my head too. 2 inches? Are you kidding me? The highest total was 3.6. But we got a very good chance, especially as we work our way through the next, I'm going to say 18 hours, that we are going to have our highest total of the season with something in the 6 to 10 inch range here in Boston, Massachusetts. Our storm totals, as you can see, we heavily, at least right now, with the graphic I'm looking at, we weight our heaviest snow down toward the 95 corridor, all right, from Providence up to Boston. But there's a chance that the heaviest snow may actually fall back toward the Massachusetts Turnpike, so back toward Worcester, toward Boston. And so that's a very distinct possibility. There's still some of those things we have to iron out yet because the meat of that part of the storm is not even there yet. I mean, we see it certainly, it's snowing in St. Louis. We see it starting to snow across parts of the Ohio Valley, but it's not a clear-cut case. And you'll notice the whole storm, we don't really have temperatures that go below freezing at all. What's going to save us in terms of getting the accumulation is the fact that a lot of this heavy snow comes in tonight. After that, it turns colder. Temperatures will be below on Wednesday and Thursday what the normal low is for this time of the year. So it's going to be a couple cold days, but by the weekend we should be getting back up above freezing. All right, let's talk to Dr. Greg Postel a little bit. Greg highlighted the severe potential, which is certainly the number one threat with this. Greg, any new caveats as to where the heaviest snow may actually wind up with this? Unlike yesterday, where we had the heaviest snow on the Cape, that's likely to not be the case in this event, right?
I agree with you, Jim. And let's go back to that time series for Boston tomorrow, showing you the temps, overnight tonight and tomorrow when the snow is falling. Look at that. We're 36, 35 degrees in the Boston area with the heavy snow. That tells you that the freezing level is obviously close to the ground, Jim. But it's a borderline case, I would argue, for southeastern Massachusetts, coastal Rhode Island, and Connecticut. So unlike, as you said, yesterday morning snow, which really impacted the coast, this one, there could be a significant amount of rain or a mix introduced to those regions, dramatically cutting back the overall amounts. What do you think?
And that's that's the I-95 corridor, essentially, until you get to Providence. Then it cuts inland up here to Boston. So that's why I'm thinking, we could easily favor the Mass Pike. The other thing too, Greg Postel, is the ratios of snow to water here will be likely 10-to-1 or lower the farther south we get. Do you think we could have enough snow to cause a more significant power outage situation?
Yeah, it's the ratios and also the rates of snow. I mean, there's pretty significant ascent. There's lift in the atmosphere. Even on the northwest side of this system, a lot of times with a low pressure that we expect this one to be like when it's near the New England coast tomorrow morning, it's not going to have that big northwestern quadrant. It's not like this classic nor'easter blizzard setup. But there should be enough lift on the northwestern side of this with significant snowfall rates to bring perhaps some of these higher amounts that we're showing right now in and close to the Boston area inland. I would say maybe even west of 495 to get some of those numbers close to 10 inches. But again, I think the southeastern part of Mass and Rhode Island, Connecticut, Long Island, watch out for that rain introduction, because we don't have that big high pressure over southeastern Canada to filter that cold air to the coast. That is not the setup now. We're at risk to see more of a maritime influence coming in. Jim.
Yeah, we'll see if we get some delays, I think, tomorrow morning at the very least for Boston area schools. Postel, I never got a chance to talk to you. How's your skating ability? Can you see you and I skating around a couple times, just discussing the forecast? Like the pros and cons of they get it, they don't. I mean, what do you think, buddy?
Well, so I played some pickup hockey when I lived in Wisconsin for 10 years, and I was the worst player on the ice. So, I would be the last guy picked. So, and if I were goalie, I'm a sieve, so don't worry about that. So, yeah, I can't help you out there. But if we get some tennis rackets, maybe I'll help you out if we play some doubles.
Postel, here's what I'll do. I'll hold you between my legs when you're skating, so you stay upright. I'll skate, and then you can stay upright. Anyway, that gets into a whole other issue. But anyway, go ahead.
All right, I just want to say one thing. When I'm skating, my ankles kind of go out like that. Does that help you out? Does that work on a rink?
Yeah, and a lot of people do. You know what? A lot of people do, especially if you haven't skated in a while, and you don't have your skates tied up nice around your ankles. It can get to hurting a little bit.
You know what? We need to settle this later on.
All right,
let's do that. Okay.
Yeah, on the ice skating rink.
Right.
So on the ice skating rink.
Let me get to the snowfall forecast here, timing it out this morning and into the early afternoon hours. We're looking pretty good today. It's actually pretty mild. It's near 40 in Boston. That's why you saw Can Man out there with not much effort keeping warm. But it's going to get colder tonight. And you're going to need the nighttime lack of sunshine, right, obviously, to get the snow in places, because this is such a borderline case with temperatures in many places going to be above 32 tonight while it's snowing. So if this event, what I'm saying is, were to happen during the afternoon hours, I think we would see a lot of places go over to rain. The nighttime, the nocturnal cooling, whatever little there is going to help us ensure that more snow in interior sections will fall than if this system were to impact us in another time of day. But look, tomorrow morning, very early in the morning, where it does snow, it could be snowing very hard with snowfall rates and a very heavy wet snow, enough to introduce that power outage threat that Jim was talking about, and also bring down maybe some tree limbs as well. So we'll be watching that. But check this out. By tomorrow morning, it's gone. I mean, like many of the other systems we've seen, very fast movers, not ones that develop and bomb out just offshore and linger for days. This is not one of those. It is heading out to sea really quickly, and that will help limit some of the overall accumulation amounts. So in the bigger view, this is what we've got for snowfall amounts, which does include parts of Ohio and Pennsylvania, not going to leave you out. But then zooming in, watch out for some pretty big totals, just inland, I think, in higher elevations. We'll be right back.
Coors Light is cold filtered for brightness and clarity. The world's most refreshing beer. Coors Light.
I wanted more from my COPD medicine. That's why I've got the power of 1, 2, 3 medicines of Trelegy. The only FDA-approved 3-in-1 COPD treatment.
Trelegy, the power of 1, 2, 3. Trelegy, 1, 2, 3. Trelegy.
With Trelegy and the power of 1, 2, 3, I'm breathing better. Trelegy works 3 ways: to open airways, keep them open, and reduce inflammation for 24 hours of better breathing.
Trelegy won't replace a rescue inhaler for sudden breathing problems. Trelegy is not for asthma. Tell your doctor if you have a heart condition or high blood pressure before taking it. Do not take Trelegy more than prescribed. Trelegy may increase your risk of thrush, pneumonia, and osteoporosis. Call your doctor if worsened breathing, chest pain, mouth or tongue swelling, problems urinating, vision changes, or eye pain occur.
Think your COPD medicine is doing enough? Maybe you should think again. Ask your doctor about once daily Trelegy and the power of 1, 2, 3.
Trelegy, 1, 2, 3.
Save at Trelegy.com. Still fresh.
Unstoppable In-Wash Scent Booster. Downy Unstoppables.
You still stressed about buying our first house, sweetie?
Yeah, I thought doing some hibachi grilling would help take my mind off it all.
Maybe you could relieve some stress by calling Geico for help with our homeowner's insurance.
Geico helps with homeowners insurance?
They sure do. And they could save us a bundle of money, too.
I'm calling Geico right now. Cell phone. It's ringing.
Get to know Geico and see how much you could save on homeowners and condo insurance.
It's like a storm that cuts a path. It breaks your will. It feels like that. You think you're lost, but you're not lost.
As this magnificent species edges closer to extinction, illegal hunting continues to rise. Are you ready to let her go? For a gift of $8 a month, you can symbolically adopt a snow leopard and help protect them and other endangered species and their habitats. Call now or go online to helpwwf.org and receive this adoption kit as thanks. Will you stand by her? Please, help us stop the killing today.
Time to go to work.
We do whatever we have to do to keep this highway open.
Whoa. This is crazy. Heavy Rescue, tonight at 9 on the Weather Channel.
A winter storm warning is in effect. Currently in our area, 42 degrees under partly cloudy skies. Today, periods of rain and snow. High 42. Snow accumulations less than 1 inch. Tonight, snow likely. Low 33. Monday, sunshine along with some cloudy intervals. High 38. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Welcome back to Weekend Recharge. We have an increasing threat for severe thunderstorms, including the possibility of tornadoes across parts of the Deep South. And we're seeing an increase of bad weather, including some thunderstorms moving across parts of Alabama and Mississippi. Right now, I'm showing you a picture of Biloxi, Mississippi, where the fog is present. And that's actually an indicator that a very moist atmosphere is right now, right along the Gulf Coast, and that is going to be moving northward during the day today. That is going to increase the instability. When you get that moist flow out of the Gulf of Mexico, indicative of the foggy conditions right there now, that brought northward during the next few hours will allow the instability to grow and get stronger, and we will see some of these thunderstorms access that instability and potentially get severe. We actually have a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings out right now all across Mississippi, along a line of thunderstorms that's carrying with it lightning, high winds, and maybe even some small hail. But these thunderstorms are moving fairly quickly right now through Laurel, Mississippi, about ready to get into Waynesboro, and then cross over the state line into Alabama. So we'll be watching that very carefully, that line of thunderstorms, as it moves eastward into, as I mentioned, an area where the sun, in many cases, is breaking through the clouds and heating the ground. And the instability is growing in this region. And as all this weather moves this way, watch out for that batch of storms to get stronger and access some of the atmospheric capabilities in place. The Storm Prediction Center put out a tornado watch that does include parts of Louisiana, southern Mississippi, and Alabama, and the western Florida Panhandle. That's until 6 o'clock tonight for the expectation of severe thunderstorms capable of producing tornadoes. And we'll be watching that very carefully. But it doesn't stop there, because earlier today, and the Storm Prediction Center put out sort of an overall threat assessment for the day as a whole, suggesting that the greatest risk for severe thunderstorms, including ones with strong winds and hail and even tornadoes, does go into parts of Georgia. Even though we don't have a tornado watch out yet for Georgia, I expect there will be one later on today issued by the Storm Prediction Center. Watch out for that. Also across parts of South Carolina, some of those storms later on this afternoon and evening will be moving through, possibly at severe limits. Timing everything out. This is a forecast that tries to sort of explicitly forecast or predict where those thunderstorms are going to be. There's a little bit of wiggle room here in exactly how it's going to end up. But the idea is that all the way from central Georgia, let's say Macon, through Dothan, Alabama, down through parts of the Florida Panhandle, later on this afternoon and evening, there will be a line of storms, much like we're seeing right now, but stronger and with a greater chance, a greater risk of producing a couple of tornadoes in that zone. And that will be moving through the Florida Panhandle and coastal South Carolina, likely later on this evening, before everything moves offshore. Now, once that happens, the severe weather threat is over. Much cooler and drier air comes in behind this line of storms and shuts down that severe weather threat later on this evening, likely before midnight, with the possible exception of northeastern Florida. With that, I'm going to send it back to Liana.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Postel. Now, we're going to take you now to Texas, Dallas, in fact, where a Texas-sized temperature drop is on the way for other parts of the South, including you. You're going to be hovering right around freezing by the time you head back to the work this week. Before that, folks in the metro will have to deal with some lingering showers. So here's a look at those record cold highs as we get into Monday. Your highs, yes, in the 30s, just what, 4 degrees above freezing for many of you across the region. So yeah, it's 39 degrees at the moment. Feels like 31, a little bit of that chill behind the air mass right here. Wind chills are also going to be an issue. We have wind chill warnings and advisories in place across the northern plains and central plains as we speak. So we're talking highs 10 to 50 degrees below normal. 50 degrees. How crazy is that? That's for today. It's going to be sinking as far south as southern Texas. Well, let's focus in on a couple spots where you're going to be kind of near the heart of it. Across the northern plains, the Midwest, you do have all these blue bubbles that you could potentially break your cold high records. And we're talking about some records that are already pretty cold to talk about. We're going to beat that. Green Bay, you're going to tie your record at 12 degrees. Rockford tying at 15 degrees. Des Moines, you might be breaking your record. Just your previous record was 9. Our forecast to 5 degrees, and that's all happening today. Minneapolis at 0 degrees. Today, we do have a couple spots in the single digits. Minuses for even Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and Sioux City, Iowa. Now, we have some old-time records that could be broken, including Sioux Falls, South Dakota. That was back in 1919. Getting close to breaking that one. Previous record of -4. We're forecasting -2, but still pretty darn close, right? As we get into the rest of the week, we do have temperatures moderate just a little bit. We're talking now highs 10 to 30 degrees below normal. Not quite the 50, but still pretty darn cold as we get through tomorrow and Tuesday. Tomorrow morning, though, bundle up. Frostbite can happen in a matter of minutes, especially the farther north you go. But tomorrow night, the cold will be filtering into the southeast. As far south as central Florida, 59 degrees for Tampa, 46 in Jacksonville, 29 in Atlanta. All right, we have continuing coverage of Winter Storm Scott. We have crews right along the path, right here. Stay here because we have coverage until 8.
We really love the holidays at Graham Grahams, but it's tough to
relax.
The Dish guy heard us. Said with the Dish Anywhere app, we could bring the comfort of our home TV along with us. Live TV, on demand, even our DVR shows.
Feel good shows.
That put us right at ease. Mostly.
So many eyes.
Take live TV, on demand, and your home DVR anywhere. Dish, tuned into you.
At Domino's, we love pizza as much as you do. That's why we're giving you Piece of the Pie rewards points for eating any pizza from anywhere.
Pizza from here?
Yep.
How about from here?
That's right.
Homemade pizza?
I guess.
Homemade pizza?
That's a little better.
What about anchovy?
Any toppings.
New York style? Deep dish.
Any pizza.
What?
Download the Domino's app, scan your pizza, and you could earn 10 Piece of the Pie rewards points toward free Domino's pizza.
Enhance your moments. San Pellegrino, tastefully Italian.
At Safelite Auto Glass, we really pride ourselves on making it easy to get your windshield fixed.
Let's turn in your science papers.
This teacher always puts her students first.
I did mine over. You did? Oh, I can't wait to read it.
So when she had auto glass damage, she chose Safelite. With Safelite, she could see exactly when we'd be there.
You must be Pascal.
Yes, ma'am. Saving her time. So she can save the science project.
AT&T provides edge-to-edge intelligence, covering virtually every part of your finance business. And so if someone tries to breach your firewall in London and you start to panic, don't. Because your CTO says we've got allies on the outside and security algorithms on the inside. And that way you can focus on expanding into Eastern Europe. And that makes the branch managers happy, and yes, that's the branch managers happy. AT&T provides edge-to-edge intelligence. It can do so much for your business, the list goes on and on. That's the power of and. And when this happens, you'll know how to quickly...
Oh, no. Are you okay, Mike?
Yeah, got a pretty big fender bender here.
Don't worry. State Farm's got you covered.
That's great to hear. Robin, what's going on?
Are you sure you're okay?
Yeah, I think so.
We're gonna get you a tow truck, Mike.
Thank you. Real fender bender going on here. Fender bender. Fender bender. Fender bender. Fender bender. Everybody remain calm. No reason to panic.
Go with the one that's here to help life go right. State Farm.
Our craftsmen begin each day perfectly seasoning our Hillshire Farm smoked sausage. So by simply adding the right ingredients, you can end each day crafting a perfectly delicious dinner.
It's just 1 minute.
Nico, it's just one raindrop.
It's just 1/10 from pole position.
Just 1 second off first place.
No thanks.
Come on, Nico, it's just one beer.
I'm still driving.
It takes a relentless attention to detail, a passion to protect people from the elements. But most of all, it takes a guarantee that you're as ready for anything as we are. At the Weather Channel, our gear means everything. And whatever the weather, you'll find us there proudly wearing Land's End. Because Land's End stands behind everything they make. So we know they could stand behind us. The official outfitter of the Weather Channel is Land's End. Guaranteed. Period.
Welcome back to Weekend Recharge. The severe weather threat is increasing across parts of the Deep South. We now have an additional tornado watch. That makes 2 of them now that have recently been issued. This first one for parts of even Louisiana, southern Mississippi, Alabama, the northwestern corridor of the Florida Panhandle. That tornado watch does extend until 6 o'clock Central Time, 6 o'clock local time. So the threat for severe weather all day today there. This one just issued right on cue for parts of Georgia, which goes until 8 o'clock Eastern time, even after dark. Think about that. So the threat for tornadoes does extend from Atlanta on southward through Macon, all the way through Albany, Georgia, toward Valdosta. And don't take these counties verbatim. I mean, the severe weather threat, including tornadoes, does include areas very nearby as well. So we will be watching the severe weather move into all of these regions during the day today. And on the radar, you can see its steady progression in that direction. So there it is right here. We've got this line of storms following along this comma-shaped appearance. There's a mid-level circulation right in there and a trailing frontal zone. This is the cold front, I think, moving through. And along it is organizing those lines of thunderstorms that even right now are producing the possibility of severe weather. We've got some severe thunderstorm warnings out for Mississippi, just northwest of Hattiesburg, which does include Forest, Jones, and Lamar counties in Mississippi until noon local time, noon Central Time. This line of storms has the capability of producing winds in excess of 60 miles per hour. I looked inside of them for the possibility of significant rotation. I don't see that yet, but they do. Each one of these storms has this broad circulation, sort of characteristic of a supercellular structure. So I do believe we got some supercell-like structures inside of this bigger line. That is going to be the theme, I think, going forward today. And in addition to that, out ahead of that line, I think we may see some isolated storms develop here, these discrete supercells. The buoyancy out here, the Cape, is rapidly increasing now with the sun out, heating the ground. Temperatures are already in the mid-70s and dew points in the mid-60s. So these storms rolling northward by themselves out ahead of that line as they mature later on this afternoon in the presence of a growing instability and stronger winds aloft. Watch out for the threat for tornadoes. These discrete supercells, I think, could be a real problem later on today. Here's a forecast of all of it going forward through the early afternoon hours. Again, this model suggests there's that line of storms right in there, carrying with it potentially strong, damaging straight-line winds and even embedded tornadic structures. Watch out for that. But also even out ahead of it, I think there could be some isolated storms that could be tornadic. We'll be watching that very carefully across southern Georgia, southern Alabama, and western Florida late through the evening hours. Here's the good news. It's going to be a rough day. Pay attention to all the latest updates in the forecast. This severe weather will move through very quickly. But once it does get out of there, along and behind that cold front, much drier air, more stable air moves in, colder weather, and the threat for thunderstorms shuts down completely by about midnight tonight, with the possible exception of northeastern Florida. Right now, I'm going to send it to Reynolds, who's going to bring that cold air to the southeast, where he is right now in St. Louis dealing with some light snow and temperature right around 20 degrees. Reynolds.
That's right. You know, the snow is coming down. Eventually that's going to fade. But the next thing it will be dropping will be the temperatures that you were talking about, Dr. Postel. A polar air mass is going to envelop a good part of the region. Well, I'll tell you, right now we're actually seeing something that's popped out. The sun, a little bit of sunlight. And if this storm happened to be a movie, we're about in the closing credits because we're going to see this begin to fizzle out as we roll through the next several hours, then stop altogether into the early evening. But the issue is you can see things like this pop up. This image was taken earlier today along part of Interstate 44, jackknife, tractor trailer, due to the slick conditions out there and people driving. To tell you the truth, probably weren't even driving that fast, and you can have all these issues. But I'll tell you, you're going to see a lot more that came from in a lot of spots. We've had a wide number of incidents out on the roadways, and I'm thinking during the overnight hours as those temperatures drop to single digits, and then by the morning with wind chills approaching -10 for St. Louis, we're going to see more ice, more problems out there on the interstate, a lot of your side surface streets too. So just be careful out there. Take it easy. But really the big story that we're going to see here when all is said and done, possibly 1 to 3, maybe 3 to 4 inches in terms of snowfall. Not only here, but also over towards spots like Springfield, more of the same. But again, once this moves off and launches its way towards the East Coast and into the Northeast, it's going to be that cold air that really will be the story as you kick off your work week, Liana. It's going to be a rough way, a tough Monday, no doubt. Mondays, let's be honest, always can be a little bit tough. But when you have single digits and then sub-zero conditions, I think we all have a case of the Mondays then, don't you think?
I totally agree, Reynolds. Yes. And I like the kind of, what is it, the Charlie Brown kind of downcast look that you just did there. So true. Many more people are going to be feeling that way, too. All right. Thanks so much, Reynolds. Well, we have much more to cover here on Weekend Recharge. Take out the aspirin because some of you are about to have a travel headache. You can blame it on Scott. Winter Storm Scott. If you want to keep it here on the Weather Channel, we have crews right in the path of Winter Storm Scott. We're going to have continuing coverage of this winter storm until 8 p.m. Eastern as it moves through the Midwest and treks to the Northeast.
The Russells travel to a different swim meet every Saturday. But now, it's Thursday. Good thing they discovered Gain Flings, the only detergent with concentrated Gain, OxyBoost, and Febreze odor remover. Smelling is believing, and Gain Flings can hi-ya karate stink too. Try new improved Gain Flings.
Every Sunday at Long John Silver's, it's all the tasty food you can eat starting at $7.99. Fish, chicken, sides, and hush puppies. It's a whale of a deal. That's right. We just said whale. Only at Long John Silver's.
I've never seen anything like that. I want a video chat with a doctor.
Need a doctor after hours? See one on your phone.
That's normal for a new baby.
With United Healthcare.
Hey, Doc.
United Healthcare.
Not having a good breakfast can make you feel like your day never started. Get going with Carnation Breakfast Essentials. It has protein plus 21 vitamins and minerals, including calcium and vitamin D, to help your family be their best. Carnation Breakfast Essentials.
Stand up to chronic migraine with Botox. What if you had fewer headaches and migraines a month? Botox prevents headaches and migraines before they even start. Botox is for adults with chronic migraine, 15 or more headache days a month, each lasting 4 hours or more. Botox injections take about 15 minutes in your doctor's office and are covered by most insurance.
Effects of Botox may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away, as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness can be signs of a life-threatening condition. Side effects may include allergic reactions, neck and injection site pain, fatigue, and headache. Don't receive Botox if there's a skin infection. Tell your doctor your medical history, muscle or nerve conditions, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects.
With the Botox Savings Program, most people with commercial insurance pay nothing out of pocket. Talk to your doctor and visit BotoxChronicMigraine.com to enroll.
The right tech can move you. The best tech can move the world. De-stress your drive with the all-new 2019 Nissan Altima. Impossibly smart.
Book now and enjoy free unlimited open bar and more. Norwegian Cruise Line. Feel free.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Frog Pond here. I thought, you know, when in Rome, why not come out and do a little skating here at the Boston Common, as long as I don't run into anybody or run over. The ankles are a little bit weak, I gotta be honest with you, but they just came out and they Zamboni'd it. And it's fresh. It's just a beautiful spring day here. Temperatures in the 40s. But we could have our highest snow of the season actually coming in tonight, believe it or not, where we're talking about anywhere from 6 to 10 inches, heavy wet snow, maybe even some power outages. This gal to my right is Brian. Who's he talking to? He had no idea. Anyway, so we're out here cranking it out and enjoying ourselves on the ice. Ankles are a little weak. I won't lie about it, but it feels good to be out on the ice. Winter sports. Great time to certainly be in New England and through here. Again, watch out. Certainly the weather's starting to get active now. We got a tornado watch, which has just been issued down to the south. We've got, you know, the snow that'll be coming in through here tonight. Maybe some travel headaches as you get out tomorrow morning. I guess the big question is for Boston, do we delay schools for a couple hours while we get all it cleaned up, or do we just cancel in some spots? Obviously, that'll be up to each district because you got Worcester County off to our west. You got the Hartford area schools to the south of there. You've got Providence and Woonsocket and all these different areas. So all in all now, the biggest change I can tell you in the last, I'm going to say hour, is we've definitely seen an increase in some of those low clouds. And the sun was almost a little hot earlier, to be honest with you. The temperatures in the low 40s. So guys, a beautiful day here in Boston. We're enjoying it. The snow, though, will be piling up on top of the 2 inches that we had yesterday, perhaps our biggest snow of the season. And we will be live for you tomorrow morning on AMHQ. All right, Ricky, where am I going? Back to the Weather Channel, to Reynolds, to
me,
Chris?
Jim. Hey, Jim, it's Liana.
Liana, the beautiful Liana Brackett. Let's definitely go back. Liana, take it away, darling.
And actually, I noticed that that Jim actually had to shed a layer, like you mentioned. It's getting kind of warm in that activity, and all that sunshine that you're experiencing in, at least some of that filters sunshine. You're starting to see some increasing clouds across Boston. But other locations across the Northeast, New York, for example, starting to see the increase of cloud cover. You're going to see that mix of rain and snow a little bit earlier than Boston. That's where Jim is at right now. But you're going to see that threat for slushy snow come down through the evening hours, through late tonight, and even into early tomorrow morning. So unfortunately, the possibility for power outages is definitely there. That slushy snow can weigh down those tree limbs, fall into a power line, and then there you go, a whole neighborhood without power. Now, the cold will be filtering in behind it, but it's not until we see some decent snowfall totals, over half a foot possible. For New York, 7-8 inches north towards Yonkers, Greenwich. You're looking at a stretch of I-95 in the 8 to 9 inch mark. Long Island, you're going to be, we're starting to see this higher numbers start to sink a little bit further south, getting closer and closer to you in Massapequa. All right, Pittsburgh, you are going to be seeing that snow starting pretty much in the next half hour or so. If not, you're already seeing some of those flakes mixed in the air as well. You're going to see it increase as we get through the rest of this evening. And then by about 10, 11, 12 p.m., or close to midnight, we are going to see things really dry out. Any snow that has fallen is going to be remaining on the ground, especially grassy surfaces, overpasses, bridges. Those are some of the locations that you need to keep a close eye on. Just 1 to 2 inches blanketing Pittsburgh, but further south, you're looking at closer to 4 inches. It's in that 1 to 2 inch range where we do typically see the most accidents. Yes, it's not when you get a foot of snow. It's actually 1 to 2 inches. Everyone kind of overestimates their driving capabilities, and they definitely underestimate the road conditions. So definitely take the necessary precautions. Slushy snow starting off for you in Albany, New York at like around 6, 7 p.m. And then definitely seeing that really kick into gear closer to 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. All right, well, snowy conditions threaten the safety of a young driver, and he has to work fast. Here's a preview of tonight's new episode of Heavy Rescue.
Visibility is like dropping by the minute. Cars are going into the ditches right now. Oh, wow, he went in pretty good. So right now, I'm just trying to dig this car out so I can find something to hook onto. She's buried pretty good, so I don't want to wreck anything underneath. Oh, okay, that's deep. This is really hard-packed snow. This car is just wedged in there. We can't even stop the traffic. They don't care enough to slow down for us. Oh, that was nasty on the face. Right now, I'm just trying to get something underneath this thing to... Oh, there we go. To hook it. Okay, let's see if this thing will come out for us. Oh, come on. The cable's binding up. This is a horrible time for stuff to break on me. It's getting really nasty, and the longer that I'm standing, the more chances of me getting hit.
All right, catch a new episode of Heavy Rescue. That's tonight at 9, 8 Central, right here on the Weather Channel. And you'll want to keep it right here on the Weather Channel, as well as we have crews in the path of Winter Storm Scott. We'll have continuing coverage of this winter storm until 8 p.m. Eastern as it moves through the Midwest and treks to the Northeast. Taking you live now to St. Louis, you're starting to see that snow on the lighter side. Visibility lifting. You can definitely see the arch right there, but still, the snow is coming down. We can still expect up to an inch of snow. More in your forecast on the wintry side and even the severe side next.
I wanted more from my COPD medicine. That's why I've got the power of 1, 2, 3 medicines with Trelegy, the only FDA-approved 3-in-1 COPD treatment.
Trelegy, the power of 1, 2, 3. Trelegy, 1, 2, 3. Trelegy.
With Trelegy and the power of 1, 2, 3, I'm breathing better. Trelegy works 3 ways to open airways, keep them open, and reduce inflammation for 24 hours of better breathing.
Trelegy won't replace a rescue inhaler for sudden breathing problems. Trelegy is not for asthma. Tell your doctor if you have a heart condition or high blood pressure before taking it. Do not take Trelegy more than prescribed. Trelegy may increase your risk of thrush, pneumonia, and osteoporosis. Call your doctor if worsened breathing, chest pain, mouth or tongue swelling, problems urinating, vision changes, or eye pain occur.
Think your COPD medicine is doing enough? Maybe you should think again. Ask your doctor about once daily Trelegy and the power of 1, 2, 3.
Trelegy, 1, 2, 3.
Save at Trelegy.com.
We fit a lot of life into our Subaru Forester.
It's good to be back.
Sure is.
Over the years, we trusted it to carry and protect the things that were most important to us. Good boy. We always knew we had a lot of life ahead of us.
Remember this?
That's why we chose a car we knew would be there for us through it all.
Welcome to the all-new 2019 Subaru Forester, the longest-lasting, most trusted Forester ever.
Where did you go?
When Taco Bell's nacho fries disappear, one man must bring them home. And now you can bring home nacho fries with a $5 nacho fries box set. Now serving at a Taco Bell near you.
Don't even. I'm serious. Yes!
Frito-Lay Variety Packs, packed with possibilities.
We switched.
I switched.
We switched.
I switched to Chevy. I switched to Chevy.
We switched to Chevy.
We switched for value.
For family. For power.
It was time to upgrade.
I switched from a Ram to a Chevy.
See why people are switching to Chevy.
We love our Chevy.
I love my Malibu. My Colorado. My Camaro.
Our Traverse. Why do we switch? Just look at it.
It's like a storm that cuts a path. It breaks your will. It feels like that. You think you're lost, but you're not lost.
As this magnificent species edges closer to extinction, illegal hunting continues to rise. Are you ready to let her go? For a gift of $8 a month, you can symbolically adopt a snow leopard and help protect them and other endangered species and their habitats. Call now or go online to helpwwf.org and receive this adoption kit as thanks. Will you stand by her? Please, help us stop the killing today.
Tonight on the Weather Channel, starting at 8, it's an all-new Highway Through Hell. Then at 9, an all-new Heavy Rescue. Then at 10, Top 10.
A winter storm warning is in effect. Currently in our area, 42 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. Today, periods of rain and snow. High 42. Snow accumulations less than 1 inch. Tonight, snow likely. Low 33. Monday, sunshine along with some cloudy intervals. High 38. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Welcome back to Weekend Recharge. The severe weather threat continues to increase across parts of the Deep South, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. Let's look at the latest tornado watches now that have been issued by the Storm Prediction Center. This one until 6 o'clock tonight. Now, it looks like there's a lot here, but the part of it that's issued until 6 includes northeastern Louisiana, southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, and western Florida Panhandle. There is an extension to this watch recently issued within the last about 30 or 40 minutes that now does include Georgia and goes until 8 o'clock Eastern time tonight, just south of Atlanta, but does include Macon, Albany, north of Valdosta, but it looks like many locations in southwestern Georgia and actually extending almost as far east as Augusta. Be on the lookout later on this afternoon for some pretty big storms possibly containing tornadoes. Right now, we don't have any tornado warnings, but we've got still some very bad weather in progress with a line of thunderstorms extending from central Alabama all the way to parts of southeastern Louisiana. And embedded within that line of storms, which really represents the cold front right now, we've got a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings out. This one for Forrest Jones and Lamar counties in Mississippi, right in and around the Hattiesburg area. I looked inside of the storm with the Doppler radar to look at some of the wind variations inside of it. There's not really any strong rotation yet in any of these, but still, they could get stronger without much warning. So be on the lookout for this line as it moves eastward through Mississippi into Alabama for the possibility of it strengthening, including stronger straight line winds and maybe even a couple of tornadoes. Now I'm going to take a look in the Florida Panhandle because we do have a severe thunderstorm warning for this little guy moving north out of the Gulf of Mexico just to the east of Crestview, Florida. Carl Parker was having a look at some of these storms, brought my attention to them, and bingo, we've got some supercell structures right now crossing I-10. There's not a tornado warning with it, but there is definitely a noticeable circulation aloft, and I'll bet if you look at this storm from this angle, if you were in Defuniak Springs and looked west, you would see a wall cloud, a well-defined mesocyclone with that one. This is a strongly rotating storm, but does not right now have the evidence of a tornado with it. But I will think we will see storms with tornadoes later on today across parts of perhaps southeastern Alabama and even southern Georgia, as this whole area gets progressively more ripe for that kind of severe thunderstorm. With the sun out, the buoyancy is increasing fairly rapidly. We're getting Cape values now above 1,500 joules per kilogram. That's a lot of fancy talk for enough instability already for some very big storms as we are seeing grow in front of our eyes. So as we go through the early afternoon hours, there's that line of storms moving through Atlanta. Probably not a significant tornado threat in Atlanta, but maybe a line of thunderstorms with some strong winds through the early afternoon hours. But southward of there, Macon, southeastern, southwestern Georgia, the western Florida Panhandle, that line of thunderstorms could contain with it some individual supercells with tornadoes in them, and also if we get any discrete cells out ahead of that line, those could also be tornadic producers like the kind that we're right now seeing sort of move on out of the Gulf of Mexico into the Florida Panhandle. Watch that area very closely. Here's the good news. Midnight tonight, it's all gone. That line of storms in the front offshore, cooler and drier, more stable air, moves in, shuts down the thunderstorm threat completely. Right now, I'm going to send it over to Reynolds Wolf in St. Louis to cover the wintry side with some pretty chilly air and still some snow sticking around. Reynolds.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, it really is a 1-2 punch in terms of winter weather. First, the snow comes through the much cooler, drier air tomorrow with wind chills that could be approaching, well, not approaching, they're going to be dropping down to single digits or even sub-zero. Right now, we've got the sun that's popping out, and it is shedding some light on the situation. You know what? We're going to do the same darn thing. The light that we have to share with you is that the snow is beginning to fade. Now, you at home may be able to see a few telltale snowflakes moving in front of the camera, and certainly you see them on your monitor at home, but I'll tell you, those are going to be fading. And a lot of the snow that you might be seeing could even be coming up from the top of some of these structures as the wind kicks in. But it will generally be fading out by the time we get into the afternoon, and then we have that rush of colder air that's going to set up camp and just kind of stick around for a couple of days. We do see an improvement by the time we get into, say, Wednesday or so. Temperature returning to about 35 or so, which will melt some of the snowfall. But the problem is, with hard freezes happening overnight, a lot of the problems you're going to see on those roadways that we've had already today, they're going to stick around. We're going to have more of those, especially in time for, get this, your morning commute. That's right. You're going to finish up your weekend, start off the work week, and sure enough, you're going to be dealing with the slick conditions. I got to tell you, though, it has been a beautiful snowfall. We just don't need to have the problems out there. And imagine conditions at the airport should be A-OK if you're trying to fly out today or tomorrow. Just got to be patient and wait for the de-icing crews to do the good job they always do. It's all about safety. Okay, Liana, let's send it back to you. I know we've got so many things to deal with, and with the snow that we have here, this is some of the stuff that's going to be driving its way off towards the east.
Yeah, it's going to be marching in across the Northeast. Thanks so much, Reynolds. And yes, we have it timing out starting early this morning and really through the rest of the day. All right, so 11 a.m. Eastern time, we're going to continue to see this snow drifting north into the mid-Atlantic, into the Northeast. Heavier snow at times. That's what this dark blue color means. Philadelphia, New York, Scranton, Boston. It's just a matter of time for you to see it. And you're going to be blanketed in this heavier snow all the way into early tomorrow morning and lingering just for your morning commute. So 8 a.m. Boston, you're still seeing some of the lighter snow, but that's still going to be pushing off east as we get through about lunchtime. So overall, we still have almost a foot of snow expected across this stretch of the I-95 corridor, and even still more on Scott next.
You know that look? That life of the party look. Walk it off look. 1 more mile look. Reply all look. Own your look with fewer lines. There's only one Botox Cosmetic. It's the only one FDA approved to temporarily make frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better. The effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away, as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Do not receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow, eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Tell your doctor about your medical history, muscle or nerve conditions, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. So give that just saw a puppy look, and whatever that look is. Look like you with fewer lines. Own your look with the one and only Botox Cosmetic.
All eyes on me.
Cold lagered, cold filtered, and cold packaged for peak refreshment. The world's most refreshing beer, Coors Light.
Reese's eggs are back, and we hit them somewhere you'll never find. Psych! We put them everywhere. Grocery stores and supermarkets, gas stations, and chiropractors' offices, bowling alleys and grocery stores, which we already mentioned. Not sorry, Reese's.
Oh, no. Are you okay, Mike?
Yeah, had a pretty big fender bender here.
Don't worry. State Farm's got you covered.
That's great to hear. Robin, what's going on?
Are you sure you're okay?
Yeah, I think so.
We're gonna get you a tow truck, Mike.
Thank you. Real fender bender going on. Fender bender. Fender bender. Fender bender. Fender bender. Everybody remain calm. No reason to panic.
Go with the one that's here to help life go right. State Farm.
As the one who's always trapped beneath the duvet, I'm begging you, take Gas-X. Your tossing and turning isn't restlessness. It's gas. Gas-X relieves pressure, bloating, and discomfort fast, so we can all sleep easier tonight.
Enhance your moments. San Pellegrino, tastefully Italian.
TGI Fridays Big Ribs. Bigger, bolder, meatier. Just $12.99 for a full rack and 2 sides. TGI Fridays, where every night the apps are endless.
Tracking Winter Storm Scott here on the Weather Channel. This storm, it's a big one. Another cross-country storm, this time for the month of March. And with this storm comes the multiple impacts, the multiple challenge, and the potential for some dangerous weather. The impactful snow already been seen across parts of the Midwest. Now looking at more snow moving through the Ohio Valley and into the Northeast. To the south, a severe weather threat as well. Once again, multiple issues with a huge storm that is moving through parts of the United States. I'm meteorologist Chris Warren here in Louisville, Kentucky, on the southern side of the Ohio River, just across the river from Indiana, and we're sort of on that edge. You drive a little bit to the south down Interstate 65, and you're going to be in the rain. And where we are here in the snow, that direction is east. To the northeast is where snow is going to eventually be hitting parts of the northeast, and eventually this includes parts of that Interstate 95 corridor. We've already seen the issues throughout parts of the Midwest. Right here, temperatures are just above the freezing mark. However, the snow just within the past 5 or 10 minutes really did pick up, and the visibility, as the snow picks up, the visibility goes down. And as that visibility goes down with the snow, we're also seeing something else go up during the day today, and that is the severe weather threat. So this is Interstate 65. It is coming from Indiana into Kentucky, and if you take it continuing to the south, you will eventually get into Nashville. You keep going south of Tennessee into Alabama, Birmingham, Montgomery, some areas where tornado watch is currently in effect. For a closer look at that threat, let's go to Ray Stagik in the studio. Ray.
Yes, Chris, that's right, and it is only March, but tornadoes can happen during any season. We do have a couple of tornado watches out. South Carolina, as you can see here, taking it on the chin on Friday, EF0 in Abbeville. Ripping up trees, ripping off roofs, snapping power poles. Fortunately, no one hurt with this one. And we do have Torcons, our tornado condition index. They're going to be as high as 5 today in parts of Alabama and Georgia. Florida Panhandle, also one area that's under the red zone for severe weather today. That does include Tallahassee, where storms blessed the capital with dime-sized hail yesterday. See that they're covering the ground in spots. Hail not a major threat today, but storms that hit severe limits could put hail as large as quarters down. Storm specialist Carl Parker tracking severe weather today. Carl, what's the latest?
Ray, this is one of those days when we want people to pay very close attention to what's going on with the weather. We're talking about a really energetic atmosphere. Strong tornadoes will be possible this afternoon. There's a tornado watch now for southeast Louisiana, southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, northwest Florida. That's going until 6 p.m. And then another tornado watch that extends through other parts of Alabama and Florida and also into central Georgia, including the Atlanta metro area, the south side of the Atlanta metro area. So this is a threat that may go for some time, not just through the afternoon, but even into the evening hours as well. Let's take a look at what's happening on the radar picture right now, and we'll take you down, first of all, into northwest Florida. And there's a severe thunderstorm warning right now for Walton County. That is going until 12:15. Now, as we look at this cell, we are actually seeing a little bit of circulation right in there. So there is at least mid-level rotation in that cell, and that's reflecting the atmosphere that is favorable for rotating storms, and that's the prerequisite for tornadoes. You've got to have a rotating storm to get a tornado, and that's what we're seeing in this storm. No tornado warning as of yet, but we certainly could be getting there as we go through the afternoon with more of these isolated cells in particular. Heads up there around Route 331 for some strong wind and also some large hail. We're going to be looking at all hazards today. We could be talking about tornadoes. We could be talking about large hail, damaging winds maybe gusting to 75 miles per hour in some cases. There is a severe warning now for Greene and Washington and Wayne counties. That is going until 12:30 Central Time, looking at the possibility of 60-mile-per-hour wind and also penny-sized hail. Let's track this area out and see where it's going to be headed. And you notice some little kinks there as well. We'll want to keep a close eye on those. But right now, primarily a damaging wind threat. That coming into Battles towards State Line, Fruitdale, and also into Chatham at about 12:38 or so. Again, damaging wind is going to be the primary threat here, but there could be some large hail as well. So this is what I'm talking about when I say a very energetic atmosphere. You've got really strong winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere, and that's a big part of what drives a severe weather threat. We like to see where that is getting together with the greatest instability. So you see where that's happening right in there, the instability being shown in that yellow and orange color, and the stronger winds aloft co-located with that right along the front this afternoon. So that's where the severe threat is going to be greatest, starting out in parts of Louisiana and northwest Florida and Alabama, and then moving over into Georgia later today. We've also got a tornado threat because of winds that are coming out of different directions at different levels of the atmosphere. You see how the winds are coming out of the south here, right in there, and then right in there. And then you've got winds coming out of the southwest at about a mile up in the atmosphere. And when you have turning of the wind like that, that's what gets the rotation going in these storms, just as we saw with that cell in Florida. That's how that process starts. You see right there in northwest Florida, you've got that wind profile. So it's not surprising that that storm is rotating. And what we've got on the Torcon is a 5 out of 10. That means a 50% chance of a tornado within a 50-mile radius. And that is in southern parts of Alabama. Tornado threat also extends, obviously, to the west and farther to the east. And we'll have more on that coming up here in just a few minutes. But, Ray, a lot of other aspects of this storm that we're watching as well.
Yeah, we are going to be a busy afternoon, Carl. I know over the next few hours we'll be covering that in the winter side of the storm. Thank you very much. And getting to a safe place quickly during severe weather can mean the difference between life and death. Meteorologist Mark Elliott now with the safest place in your home to take shelter.
When you're under a tornado warning or you hear a tornado siren, and especially if you can see that tornado, now is not the time to grab that smartphone and start filming. Oops. Instead, it's time to get inside and seek shelter. You run inside to seek shelter from the storm and come up to your bedroom, which normally is pretty safe, until, of course, a tree crashes through your roof. Coming down to a lower level, great idea. Trying to see where the storm is outside those windows, bad idea. It was a good idea to leave the windows, but this exterior wall doesn't help you as much as you might think. No, tree limbs or 2x4s, they're like toothpicks when winds get as fierce as in these storms. Yes, your garage is on ground level and has 4 sides. No, it isn't going to protect you the way you want it to. So this is where you do want to be. Not only a low level, but the lowest level you've got. And you want to put as many walls between you and the storm as possible. And then you stay here until it's safe. Because this room could be the one thing that saves your life.
And we'll continue to see now Winter Storm Scott hit up to 80 million people. That's how many are under severe weather alerts. Snow on the way from cities from Cincinnati to Pittsburgh. And many of these places will also see snow. Harrisburg, New York City, maybe half a foot of snow or more. And it's coming the first weekend of meteorological spring. So we're going to go back out now to Chris Warren. Chris, you are in Louisville, Kentucky. Looks like your snow has started. I know we've got a winter weather advisory till midnight. What's the latest out there in Louisville?
The snow's been picking up, Ray. Just past 10 or 15 minutes, we've been watching the snow come down. Really small snowflakes. Possibly a little bit of refreezing going on, so you can kind of hear it as well. So maybe some grapple within this as well. But we'll look right now with temperatures just above freezing. It's going to be hard to get right now, but looking, you can see a little bit in grass. And this is because, it's a little bit colder. The grass itself is less likely to melt the snow once it hits the ground. At least initially, the sidewalks, the pavement, the concrete, it's going to hold heat a little bit. So you're not going to accumulation You look at the elevated surface here, this wood's going to get pretty cold pretty quickly, and look at that. Right now you can see a little bit of the accumulation. Now we're pretty much right underneath. This is just outside of Interstate 65. This is the southbound. There's two bridges right here coming to Kentucky from Indiana or going from Kentucky to Indiana. But you can see this is an elevated part of the bridge and to the south. Eventually, a couple states to the south is where you get to that severe weather threat on the severe side of this winter storm. But where we are, not too far away from the big buildings in Louisville, and we can't see them very well right now because of the snow. But just a half an hour ago, it was really easy to see some of the buildings. You may be able to make out one of the outlines, but that's the snow. That's the snow that has been picking up. But when it's over here in Louisville, as far as when the precipitation finally comes to an end, driving across the bridges are not initially going to be a problem. But what we're going to have to watch for is how much melting occurs, how much standing water there is, because temperatures are going to get very cold. Each night, temperatures down into the 20s over the next few days. And if the winds don't evaporate the water on the surface, we could be looking at some icy spots. But Carl, we are looking here at minimal snow. We're kind of in the transition of this storm as it makes its way into the Northeast. What do you think is going to be the biggest wild card between the haves and the have-nots in the Northeast when it comes to snow?
Well, I certainly think Boston is a very, very tricky question because right now we're looking for temperatures to be in the middle 30s during this event there in Boston, and that means you could very easily transition to a mixture of precipitation or even rain, certainly on the south side of town. But as Chris mentioned, look at this plunge of cold air that is coming down across the north central part of the country. Just a huge blast of wintry cold for much of the nation, and then you've got a lot of moisture coming up from the Gulf of Mexico as well, interacting with that cold, and that is setting the stage for all of this wintry weather. So it is snow right now anywhere from St. Louis across the state of Indiana, Ohio, as well as into Pennsylvania, just starting to edge into the D.C. metro area. We'll take a closer look at some of the snowfall here, and winding down in St. Louis as we speak. We've got a little bit more in the way of moderate snow in southern Indiana, right in there from Indianapolis on southward down towards Louisville where Chris is, as well as into central Ohio, Cincinnati, into Dayton, getting into some light and moderate snow there. And it's also creeping into western Maryland right now and just starting to get going in the D.C. metro area. So let's talk about timing here. Let's go forward into this evening, and we're going to watch it spread pretty quickly up into the Northeast. So there we go into 7 o'clock this evening, and the snow is underway, most likely across the Pennsylvania, across the turnpike there in Pennsylvania, as well as the New York State Thruway, up and down 95, especially from Philly into New York, up into Hartford, up into Boston as well. You notice how we've got rain in D.C., so we're starting out with some snow, but warming up through this event, so it's largely going to be rain there in D.C. And then 11 o'clock tonight, going strong in southeast New York, as well as into parts of southeastern New England. We're going to see the snowfall rates increasing at that time as the low pressure is going to be getting stronger, and then it slowly does begin to move out. But really tough forecast in southeast New England with that warmer air coming in. Want to very quickly show you our forecast for total amounts of precip. Right now we're looking for a pretty sizable swath of about 5 to 8, and that's along and west and northwest of that 95 corridor, southeast Pennsylvania into New York State, as well as into southern parts of New England. Ray, over to you.
Thanks, Carl. And this blast of winter will help areas in the Northeast make up for being behind schedule on their snowfall. Jim Cantori shows us where it will make a big difference.
After 2 inches of snow yesterday, our 5th highest snow total of the season here in Boston, we are awaiting the big one, what could be our biggest snowstorm of the season so far. 15.9 inches is all we've had. March on average, 7.8 inches. We'll see if we go above average for the first time all this year, this season. But what a beautiful spring day here in Boston. You can see people behind me here just enjoying the frog pond, as it's called here on the Boston Common. Everybody out enjoying some skating, some time with friends. And you know, you don't really, the fact that it's in the low 40s, which is about average this time of the year, when that sun hits you, it's just beautiful to be outside. All right. The poochers were out as well. Dogs out here this morning running around, chasing anything they could find out here. And, you know, it's actually a little bright, too, because we got that fresh 2 inches of snow that we had on the ground yesterday. And, of course, there are people visiting from out of town. We got a chance to talk to one young lady who's very happy to be out of the rain in Chattanooga.
So we're from Chattanooga, Tennessee, and we got a lot of rain and flooding, and we just left and came and arrived yesterday afternoon.
So it's nice to see the sun, isn't it?
Yeah, and the snow.
And of course,
Very
what's
nice.
it doing in Chattanooga right now?
Raining again.
Exactly, it's raining again, so it's nice to be up here. In terms of snow, though, you guys don't leave till Tuesday. You're going to get to deal with the whole storm, right?
Yes.
You don't have to worry about traveling.
No. So we get to walk around and stay, and we're excited to see all the snow because we don't get it back home.
So again, the maximum part of this storm expected to affect Boston tonight, midnight to 5 a.m. Looks like we'll deal with our most intense snowfall, tapering off tomorrow morning. The big question is, will we be on a delay for area schools, or will we cancel it altogether? We'll see. The good news is, after the snow tomorrow, the sun comes back out. We get up into the low 40s. We help melt some of that snow, and then we get ready for the big freeze. Temperatures will cool off to the 20s for highs for Wednesday and Thursday. I'm meteorologist Jim Cantore in Boston, Massachusetts.
Right, Jim, thanks. And some cities also under the snow threat will be places like Pittsburgh, but it's a quick mover. We go from about mid-afternoon today until just about 10 o'clock tonight. That's when most of your snow falls. And sticking snow, too. Temperatures are below freezing, upper 20s to low 30s through the course of this event. And we look at about 1 to 2 inches in Pittsburgh, including Washington, the southern suburbs. So that track a little further south as you get south of 70. Probably going to be 2 or 3 inches. So it's manageable. Should be gone by morning, at least cleaning off the roadways. The major interstates should be okay. But 1 to 3 inches in Pittsburgh here. Most of that weather will come in this afternoon, this evening. And as we get into the 20s with that colder air coming in, that's when we'll start to see that snow probably stick pretty quickly. Albany, the capital of New York State, once again, an overnight event. If you see here by 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, start to get out for school and or maybe even work. Looks like most of the snow should be over with, and a general maybe 2 to 3 inches around Saratoga Springs and back towards Schenectady. Maybe some higher totals as you get into the hills, into the Hildebergs, down into Pittsfield, Mass. and Bennington. So this does not look like a big event. Delays for school, probably. Whether they close them or not, who knows these days. So 1 to 3 for Albany. Temperatures falling into the 20s. Most of that snow during the nighttime hours tonight. Boston, as Jim had mentioned, we've got snow in the forecast. We'll start above freezing, but then get pretty close and down into the mid-30s as we go through the nighttime hours. And obviously, when you lose that heating or that insulation from the sun on the top of the cloud tops, that certainly does help a little bit for that snow to stick, especially overnight. Well, the newest severe weather warnings and watches are coming up next. And with torcons as high as 5 today, jaw-dropping demonstration of the power of tornadoes. Plus, the bitter blast of Arctic air that will send temperatures tumbling in the wake of Scott. Stay with us all day long for special coverage of a multitude of threats from Winter Storm Scott.
You realize your vows are a Whitesnake song?
I do. If you ride, you get it. Geico Motorcycle. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Think only specialty stores have what's new? Olay has this season's hottest debut, like the new Clay Stick masks. All mask, no mess. Olay Hydrating Facial Mist for hydration on the go. And our breakthrough brightening eye cream, boosted with vitamin C. Get your new beauty fix. Only by Olay.
To look at me now, you don't see psoriasis. You see clear skin.
You see me.
But if you saw me before Cosentyx,
I was covered. It was awful.
but I didn't give up. I kept fighting.
I got clear skin with Cosentyx.
3 years and counting. Clear skin can last.
See if Cosentyx could make a difference for you. Cosentyx is proven to help people with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis find clear skin that can last. Don't use if you're allergic to Cosentyx. Before starting Cosentyx, you should be checked for tuberculosis. An increased risk of infections and lowered ability to fight them may occur. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, or if you've received a vaccine or plan to. If you have inflammatory bowel disease, tell your doctor if symptoms develop or worsen. Serious allergic reactions may occur.
See me now. I'm still clear.
How sexy are these elbows?
Get clear skin that can last. Ask your dermatologist about Cosentyx.
Ways to lose stubborn belly fat. Metal vibration therapy. Not cool. Freezing away fat cells with Cool Sculpting, now that's cool. Cool Sculpting safely freezes and removes fat cells with little or no downtime and no surgery. Results and patient experience may vary. Some common side effects include temporary numbness, discomfort, and swelling. Ask your doctor if Cool Sculpting is right for you and visit CoolSculpting.com today for your chance to win a free treatment.
It's like a storm that cuts a path. It breaks your will. It feels like that. You think you're lost, but you're not lost.
As this magnificent species edges closer to extinction, illegal hunting continues to rise. Are you ready to let her go? For a gift of $8 a month, you can symbolically adopt a snow leopard and help protect them and other endangered species and their habitats. Call now or go online to helpwwf.org and receive this adoption kit as thanks. Will you stand by her? Please, help us stop the killing today.
Look at the water. Trusted.
I want to get right to it.
Reliable.
This is just beginning.
Accurate. You're watching America's #1 weather network, The Weather Channel.
A winter storm warning is in effect. Currently in our area, 43 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. This afternoon, snow likely. High 44. Winds southeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Chance of snow 90%. Tonight, periods of snow. Low 33. Monday, mostly cloudy early, then afternoon sunshine. High 38. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Welcome back to Weather Center Live. Well, the timing could not be worse for today's severe weather threat in New Orleans. The city's famous French Quarter packed with Mardi Gras revelers. It's the final weekend of parades leading up to the climax of the season, Fat Tuesday, and the threat for severe weather and tornadoes is increasing over southeastern Louisiana as we speak. Now, right now, the storms are fairly far away from New Orleans. You've got a little bit of time, but we do expect that there will be some pretty strong storms coming in this afternoon. Take a look at where they are relative to New Orleans. Now, the motion on these cells has generally been east at about 50 miles per hour, so they are definitely moving. And let's take some of these that are due west of New Orleans, and there you see maybe 80 miles per hour. So at that pace, that would bring the storms in about an hour and a half or so. So you certainly want to be aware of the possibility of some severe weather coming in through the middle part of this afternoon. There is a warning now for East Baton Rouge, Iberville, and West Baton Rouge parishes for damaging wind and also for large hail. We could be looking at winds gusting 60 to 70 miles per hour today. Warning in St. Helena and Tangipahoa parishes. That is going until 12:30 this afternoon. Then up into Mississippi and Alabama, Greene, Washington, Wayne counties under warning for damaging wind, large hail, but also there is a tornado possible tag in this warning. And in fact, when we look at the velocity data, look at the little kink right there. So not quite to the level of a tornado warning right yet, but certainly we're seeing these little swirls developing because there is a lot of low-level wind shear, so that's going to be something that we're watching for. One more storm to tell you about. Oh, we've got a brand new tornado warning to tell you about here. And that is in effect for Geneva and Houston counties. That is in South Georgia, going until 12:45. Let's take a look at what's going on inside this storm. So this is moving northeast at 30 miles per hour, and radar indicated rotation here. I'm going to zoom down on that. And right in there, that is a pretty strong signature. So we're looking at rotation showing up in that area of brighter blue, and the darker color right there. That's where the rotation is. And again, that is now moving northeast at 30 miles per hour. So that's coming towards Hartford right now, moving into Kelly's Crossroads in the next minute or two, then coming into Hartford at 12:28, Slocum 12:37, and coming into Malvern at 12:44. Possible tornado coming your way. Remember, get to the lowest, most interior room, as many walls between you and the outside as is possible. And we expect to see a lot more of this going through the afternoon. We'll have more on this coming up in just a few minutes. Ray, over to you.
All right, Carl, thanks a lot. And we've seen the winter side of Scott. It's a two-sided storm, and there's another threat we're going to keep an eye on here as we head on through the next couple of days, and that's going to be the snow. But looking now at our Torcons, you can see we do have a Torcon of 5 today. A Torcon is actually multiplying 10 by the percentage of the chance of seeing a tornado, so it's a 50-mile radius, or you've got a 50% chance of seeing a tornado. So today Torcons are high, so that's better than 50% chance in some spots. As Carl just mentioned, we do have a tornado warning currently in effect. So get to your safe place. Know where your safe place is, as for this time of year we do have some pretty high Torcons, and it looks like we will continue to see that severe weather threat. So a 5 on the Torcon today. Once again, it's a 50% chance of a tornado within a 50-mile radius. And we'll continue to see at least that threat of tornadoes continuing as we head on through the daytime hours today. All right, let's get into a little bit now the watches and warnings and definitions. When you get a watch, that means conditions are favorable for development of a tornado. So that means that things could happen. And then when you get into the warning, that means a tornado is imminent or occurring. And most of the time that does indicate that there'll be issue when you have rotation on Doppler showed, and then confirm you certainly get a tornado warning when we do have that. A winter storm Scott. It's a two-sided storm, and there's also another threat we're going to keep an eye on, and that's the snow. Still coming up on Weather Center Live. We'll have a pinpoint where the heaviest snow is going to be falling across the Northeast and how it could have a big impact on your commute to work tomorrow. And we're going to have some extended coverage of Winter Storm Watch in this as we continue with this all night long. Stay with us for the latest. This winter storm spreads snow across the Northeast and slams us south with severe storms here. So you can get this coverage only here on the Weather Channel. We're in Union Springs, Alabama, taking a look live now. Check this out as we see some ominous skies here ahead, and that ominous sky is going to lead to some more severe weather here. Right now it's Charles Peak out there, and you can see storms to the west and down to the southeast, so kind of right in the middle there. As Charles taking a look at some of this severe weather now, and those storms heading east. So if you are in these areas in Alabama, in and around the Union Springs area, hey, just be aware. Have a way to get your watches and your warnings. Hopefully, if you're out on the roadways, you have a way to get away, or heading out on the roadways, you have a way to get some of those alerts. Still have more on the severe weather and the winter side of Scott coming up.
Coors Light is cold filtered for brightness and clarity. The world's most refreshing beer. Coors Light.
Every Sunday at Long John Silver's, it's all the tasty food you can eat starting at $7.99. Fish, chicken, sides, and hush puppies. It's a whale of a deal. That's right. We just said whale. Only at Long John Silver's.
Congrats, Kim. You got your own car with your own insurance.
No more driving that old hand-me-down.
Did you trade it in?
My parents handed it down to my little brother.
You ready?
Yeah. Surprise! No, not Beige Betty. You guys can't do this to me, seriously?
My car is like a rite of passage.
How do you expect me to drive this?
Just turn the key and yeah, it's just
some of this.
It's automatic, dual cup holders.
Go with the one that's here to help life go right. State Farm.
Parodontax Complete Protection. If you see traces of blood when you brush or floss, which kind of toothpaste do you choose? One for healthy gums or one for strong teeth? You don't have to choose. Complete Protection from Parodontax has 8 designed benefits for healthy gums and strong teeth. Take control and leave bleeding gums behind with Complete Protection from Parodontax.
AT&T provides edge-to-edge intelligence covering virtually every part of your manufacturing business. And so this won't happen because you've made sure this sensor and this machine are integrated. And she can talk to him. And yes, attaboy, some people assign genders to machines. And you can be sure you won't have any problems, except for the daily theft of your Danish.
Not cool!
AT&T provides edge-to-edge intelligence. It can do so much for your business, the list goes on and on. That's the power of and. And this shipment will be delivered.
You haven't seen the sun in like forever, so you search for a beach vacation. Sunny beaches, sandy beaches, big beaches, small beaches, until you're lost, searching for surfing dogs. But then you find VRBO, and they search millions of homes to find you the perfect beach house, where you all find your own rooms and a grill bigger than your kitchen back home. And finding out about the girl he likes at school warms your heart even more than the sun. From beach houses to cabins to condos, find vacation homes that match you with VRBO.
Enhance your moments. San Pellegrino, tastefully Italian.
At Safelite Auto Glass, we really pride ourselves on making it easy to get your windshield fixed.
Let's turn in your science papers.
This teacher always puts her students first.
I did mine on volcanoes. You did? Oh, I can't wait to read it.
So when she had auto glass damage, she chose Safelite. With Safelite, she could see exactly when we'd be there.
You must be Pascal.
Yes, ma'am. Saving her time. So she can save the science project.
If this is how your underwear situates your stuff, get bullpen underwear with Stay Put pouch. Only at Duluth stores and DuluthTrading.com.
Welcome back to our special coverage on this Sunday afternoon. We are following a severe weather threat that is pretty serious for parts of Alabama and Georgia, Northwest Florida, as well as Louisiana. We have a number of tornado warnings to tell you about right now. Let's begin with one in west central Georgia, now coming into Columbus. That is Harris, Muskogee, Talbot counties under warning until 2:15. And we're looking at a rotation showing up right over Columbus right now. Please get to your safe place immediately there in Columbus. Now, we're shooting fairly high up in the radar. This is the Atlanta radar that's looking at this, but we are seeing a circulation, certainly a strong mid-level circulation in this storm. And let's see where it's going to be headed from here. As that moves off to the northeast, that'll be coming towards Rehoboth at 138, Waverly Hall at 150, Talbotton at 205, and Po-Biddy Crossroads at 211. Possible tornado coming your way, so please get to your safe place right now. Then to the south, this is far south Georgia and northwest Florida. Geneva, Holmes, Walton counties under warning until 1 p.m. Also another warning to the north of that for Geneva and Houston County. I want to show you what's going on in the velocity data in both of these cases. First of all, we've got a circulation coming into Hartford right now. Not quite as well defined as it once was, but certainly a tornado possible with that storm that's now coming into Hartford and moving northeast. So moving towards Dundee as well as Slocum, and it's going to be getting towards Malvern at 12:44. And then we'll go just a little farther south, and here too we're seeing a circulation in what appears to be a more rural area. Let's take that forward and see where that's going to be headed, coming across Route 81 in the next few minutes here towards Hobbs Crossroads at 12:32, Barker Store at 12:36, and Pittman at 12:45. In all of those spots, you want to get to your safe place as you've got a possible tornado coming your way. Now off to the west of that, looking at a very large severe thunderstorm warning for Greene and Washington and Wayne counties until 1:15, winds gusting up to 60 miles per hour. But we're also seeing a lot of little kinks developing in this storm, so a tornado is possible. Let's time out the whole area to show you who is going to be affected by this as it moves up, maybe just a little to the south of east, coming towards Fruitdale, towards Jackson, McIntosh, Franklin, and also into Monroeville. Again, primarily it's a damaging wind threat, but there could be some large hail. And we've been seeing little kinks developing. There's one right in there, not quite to the point of tornado warning, another one developing right in there. But it's one of those days when we're seeing a lot of circulation in these storms because there's a lot of wind shear, which is what enables tornadoes to happen in the first place. So that's certainly something we're keeping our eyes on. And right now, it is quieter in southeast Southeast Louisiana. We were watching a couple of warnings here. Storms now about an hour and a half away from New Orleans, and no warnings now near Baton Rouge nor along 55 there. We were looking at some warnings not all that long ago. So there's a tornado watch that extends through southern Mississippi, southern Alabama. That's going until 6 o'clock tonight. And then another tornado watch that goes until 8 o'clock tonight in central parts of Georgia and into northwest Florida. It's a really energetic atmosphere that we're watching today. There's a lot of wind in the atmosphere, and there's also a fair amount of instability. So there's enough to get the storms going and punching up into the atmosphere, and there's a lot of wind shear that enables these storms to become more organized in nature. So the greatest threat is going to extend from southern Alabama into southern and central parts of Georgia through this afternoon and also into the evening hours. I want to show you the torque on here. We've got a 5 out of 10 in southern Alabama. That means a 50% chance of a tornado within a 50-mile radius. We're looking at a 3 out of 10 farther to the west into southeast Louisiana and southern Mississippi. And we're also looking at a 3 out of 10 in parts of South Georgia and the Florida Panhandle. Now, let's talk about the model forecast. And the high-resolution model here is meant to give you an idea of how this is going to happen. It doesn't always happen exactly like this, but I want you to see the discrete nature of some of these cells. Even though more broadly you've got a line of storms, there are individual cells within the line and ahead of the line, and those individual cells are going to be capable of producing tornadoes, and maybe strong tornadoes, because, again, there's so much energy in the atmosphere. There's so much wind shear in the atmosphere that makes that more possible. We go into 4 to 5 to 6 o'clock tonight, still seeing a lot of that discrete cell development, and some of that reaching over into South Carolina as well. So it's going to be a really active afternoon and evening, and we want folks to really stay on their toes. Ray, over to you.
All right, Carl, thanks. And yes, severe weather will threaten to the south, but further north, you're going to run into this where the air is a little bit more stable. So you're getting more heavy rain, and that heavy rain from Birmingham off toward Anniston, heading into North Georgia now, as a severe weather threat continues to be a little bit further south of places like Birmingham and even on off toward Atlanta, Georgia. So the model's showing what the radar may look like as we go through this afternoon. Then a heavy rainfall, and that'll be the greater threat as you go further north. It'll be heavy rain, a few thunderstorms occasionally, may have a little wind to them and some lightning, but as we go through this evening, most of this for Birmingham should be tapering on off and heading out. So by 3 o'clock, most of this gone. Overnight, we'll see the clouds in, and temperatures will stay in the 40s. But as the severe weather threat ramps up across the south, it's time to start thinking about your safest place in your home. Coming up, we're going to show you the best place to go if a tornado is heading your way. Plus, our Chris Warren is live in Louisville tracking Scott's snowy side. Chris.
Yeah, Ray, coming up here, we're talking about the snowy side with the snow picking up here in Louisville. We're going to see more issues, more problems with the snow, as here on the Weather Channel we continue to track the multiple sides, the multiple threats of Winter Storm Scott, as now it makes its way into the Northeast. But now we really have seen the temperatures go down a little bit, but more importantly, the snow and the visibilities continuing to go down. Our live team coverage continues here on the Weather Channel.
Now I'm thinking I'd like to retire early.
Let's talk about this when we meet next week. Edward Jones came to manage $1 trillion in assets under care by focusing our mind on whatever's on yours.
Mirror, mirror on the wall. Makeup mode. Done. Ooh, remind me to update my profile pic. Okay.
I'm Jimmy Dean, and I wish I could tell you how I feel about a morning like this. And that includes a good hearty breakfast. You need something to kind of warm the whole body up and get it going. It's a great way to kick off your day.
Fact is, there are over 9,600 roads named Park in the U.S. It's America's most popular street name, no matter what park you live on. One of 10,000 local Allstate agents knows yours. Now that you know the truth, are you in good hands?
Tech can move you. The best
fast tech can move the world. De-stress your drive with the all-new 2019 Nissan Altima. Impossibly smart.
Every Sunday at Long John Silver's, it's all the tasty food you can eat starting at $7.99. Fish, chicken, sides, and hush puppies. It's a whale of a deal. That's right. We just said whale. Only at Long John Silver's.
Mommy, we made you Princess Toast!
Oh! I have no idea what's in Princess Toast, but thanks to this USP seal, I know exactly what's in my Nature Made gummies.
Nature Made has the first gummies verified by USP, a nonprofit organization that sets purity and potency standards.
I think I finally found my hallelujah. I've been waiting for this moment.
Book now and enjoy free unlimited open bar and more. Norwegian Cruise Line. Feel free.
The Russells travel to a different swim meet every Saturday. But now, it's Thursday. Good thing they discovered Gain Flings, the only detergent with concentrated Gain, OxyBoost, and Febreze odor remover. Smelling is believing, and Gain Flings can hi-ya karate stink too. Try new improved Gain Flings.
A lot of rain coming down in central and south Alabama at this hour. Montgomery could be in line for some tornadoes, even some hail, damaging wind, maybe 75 miles per hour. People in low-lying areas are going to want to watch the creeks and rivers, as flooding is also a strong possibility. And we have got a very energetic atmosphere this afternoon. So tornadoes are certainly possible across many areas. There are tornado watches now from Louisiana into Georgia. I'll show you that in a moment. Let's first go through the warnings and talk about what's happening right now in Georgia. Harris, Muskogee, Talbot counties under warning right now. As we look at the velocity data, you see how we've got sort of an elongated circulation right there, so it's not as concentrated as it was moments ago. In fact, I can actually step back in time, and you can see how right as it was coming into Columbus, it was broad, but it was more concentrated, a stronger rotation at that time. So at least for now, this storm does appear to be weakening some, so we've got a little less of a tornado threat. Nonetheless, let's go ahead and just track it out just to be on the safe side. It's very close to Route 80 right now, coming up towards Midland and Ridgeway and Olive Branch, and so we'll certainly keep our eyes on that. Now to the south, the whole series of tornado warnings. I've got a reissue here for Geneva, Holmes counties going until 1 p.m. with Storm Spotter actually reporting a funnel cloud associated with that. And then a new warning here that does include Dothan. I'm going to move this a little farther northeast. That's Dale, Geneva, Houston counties going until 1:15. Let's zoom down and look at the velocity data here. Now, looking at this, just eyeballing this is not quite as pronounced as it once was. We are seeing some circulation there, but it's not as pronounced as it once was. Hopefully, that means we've got a weakening trend, and that continues. Nonetheless, we've got a storm that's coming towards Dothan, moving into Malvern at 12:50, moving into Barrett at 12:59, and Dothan just a little bit after the top of the hour. So heads up on that. Be aware of it. We'll continue to follow it here. We'll let you know if we see a resurgence in the strength of that circulation. This is the one where we got a report of a funnel cloud. Still seeing a pretty pronounced circulation showing up there. It's not the most well-defined I've ever seen, but it certainly is showing up. Again, we'll time this out, and that's coming right across Route 2 right now as it moves northeast, moving up towards Pleasant Home School, getting into Black, and also High Note at about 12:54. In all of those areas, a possible tornado coming your way. Now off to the west. This is western Alabama and also in eastern Mississippi. Greene, Washington, Wayne counties under warning until 1:15. Got mostly a damaging wind threat here, but there are little kinks that are developing within that line. We've seen them sort of tighten up and loosen up from time to time, which is not surprising. It's just a lot of wind shear. And so even when you've got a line of storms, you can get tornadoes developing, brief tornadoes developing within that. So that is a threat right now. There are no tornado warnings as we speak. There is certainly a damaging wind threat. And as we time that out, moving a little south of east, that's going to be coming towards Waggerville, Jackson, McIntosh, and also into Franklin. And then one more stop north of New Orleans. Got a couple of warnings here for a couple of parishes. One of those for Tangipahoa, Washington parishes going until 1 p.m. Primary threat here is going to be damaging wind and also large hail. So already a lot going on, Ray, and we expect that it will continue right through the next several hours. Just got a lot of energy in the atmosphere right now.
Yeah, and the storm's starting to go, and you know, people are going to have to know what they're going to need to do, what action you're going to need to take. They're under that watch, thanks, Carl. And under that watch, one thing you'll need to know is not only how to get your warnings, but how you'll need to seek shelter, what you'll need to do to keep yourself safe. And you know, many of us will continue to see, you know, these storms head on in, and you're certainly going to have to get into your safe place as you get ready to see these storms come on through. So have a safe place to go, and certainly going to want to have something to do and have a way to get those alerts. So here's some of the things that we do suggest here. As you're seeking shelter, you certainly do want to find the lowest part of your house. So the basement is the best. So if you do have a basement in your home, find your family, get them down into the basement, get them safe. Another place is put as many barriers between you and the outside walls as possible, especially if you don't have a basement. An interior room is usually a great suggestion. Under the stairs or the hallways might also be a shelter that you could take as well. You hear suggestions that, you know, you get into that interior room and you can go to the lowest floor, to a small centered room, bathroom, or a closet. Always consider what's on the floors above you and avoiding to be above or beneath some heavy objects. So crouch as low as you can, face down with your hands over your head. So certainly going to need to maybe take some of those safety tips into account as we go through this afternoon. All right, now we're going to head on out to the north where we've got some cold air coming in. St. Paul, you are currently 5 below, and more of that cold air is continuing to push on in as we go through the next few days. May see some record cold high temperatures as this cold air plunges down. Unusually cold. The wind chills tomorrow morning well below zero. Wind chill advisories in St. Paul, Minnesota. Right, I'm back into Washington State as get another little plunge here of this cold air coming down from Canada and heading on down toward even places like Dallas, Texas, and into Atlanta. You can get a glancing blow eventually, but the heart of the coldest air here through the Dakotas. Record cold highs today are possible. So anywhere from Nebraska up toward the Dakotas and even on into Minnesota and back toward Wyoming and Montana. These are spots where your high temperature may be the coldest it's been on record. Rockford, 16 forecast high, the record's 15. Minneapolis, forecast high of 0, your record is 6. So we actually blow it away by quite a bit. 6 degrees is quite a bit when it comes to records. Green Bay looking at a tie for a forecast record low high temperature. Same thing in Des Moines. You're looking to get a record cold high temperature also. So plenty of cold to go here. Here we go. Omaha also, we're forecasting a high of 5. Sioux Falls in South Dakota, 3 below 0, getting dangerously close to that 4 below. And a tie here in Sioux City, Iowa, where you may be tying your record cold high temperature. As that cold air continues to spill on off toward the south and east, will go 10 to 20 degrees below average. So if you thought you were going to be putting away the winter coat in places like Atlanta, you'll have to bring it back out. Well, let's get back out now to Chris Warren live in Louisville. Chris.
Blowing out of the north around 16 miles an hour, so that 35 air temperature actually feels more like 25 degrees, so about 10 degrees cooler is what it feels like when you factor in the wind. First, let's look over from Kentucky to Indiana, and you can't see across the banks here in between these bridges. We're standing right here underneath Interstate 65. It's northbound, so heading up to Indiana. Even looks like there's a little bit of fog hanging out over the Ohio River as well. But the snow is starting to accumulate, but it's accumulating where you normally expect it first. And that is here in the grassy areas that tend to be a little bit colder and less likely to melt the snow. I think this is kind of cool too. As you look up here, again, we're underneath Interstate 65 in the northbound, but look how the snow is essentially settling. It's getting a little bit of a break and it's settling here. And then there's this sharp divide where there is no snow because stand right here and you're sheltered from the wind. And while this is still the beginning of the event here in Kentucky, and we're not expecting a ton of snow, frankly, out of this, other parts of the Northeast are going to be seeing a lot of snow. So with that, the wind is going to be a factor of where the snow piles up and how much snow falls. That's what we're going to be talking about here on the Weather Channel coming up.
It's just 1 minute. Nico, it's just one raindrop.
It's just 1/10 from pole position.
Just 1 second off first place.
No thanks.
Come on, Nico, it's just one beer.
I'm still driving.
Not having a good breakfast can make you feel like your day never started. Get going with Carnation Breakfast Essentials. It has protein plus 21 vitamins and minerals, including calcium and vitamin D, to help your family be their best. Carnation Breakfast Essentials.
It's like a storm that cuts a path. It breaks your will. It feels like that. You think you're lost, but you're not lost.
As this magnificent species edges closer to extinction, illegal hunting continues to rise. Are you ready to let her go? For a gift of $8 a month, you can symbolically adopt the snow leopard and help protect them and other endangered species and their habitats. Call now or go online to helpwwf.org and receive this adoption kit as thanks. Will you stand by her? Please, help us stop the killing today.
This winter, save your Sunday nights for the Weather Channel. Catch an all-new Highway Through Hell tonight at 8 on the Weather Channel.
I didn't really know anything about my family history. Went to Ancestry. I put in the names of my grandparents first. I got a leaf right away. A leaf is a hint that is connected to each person in your family tree. I learned that my 10 times great-grandmother is George Washington's aunt. Within a few days, I went from knowing almost nothing to, holy crow, I'm related to George Washington. This is my cousin George.
Discover your story. Start searching for free now at Ancestry.com.
A winter storm warning is in effect. Currently in our area, 44 degrees under cloudy skies. This afternoon, snow likely. High 44. Winds southeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Chance of snow 90%. Tonight, periods of snow. Low 33. Monday, mostly cloudy early, then afternoon sunshine. High 38. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Welcome back to Weather Center Live. We are live right here in Auburn, Alabama. Wet streets, slow travel. We've seen reports of hail in the area, and it does look like we are going to see some heavy rainfall as it's going to be slow travel. Look at this. That's some of the hail coming down. It doesn't look too large. My eyesight's getting bad, but I'd go pea size, maybe a little bit bigger. Certainly not large hail, but we're going to get more reports of hail. I'm sure we will as we go on through the next 6 to 12 hours. These reports coming in out of Alabama. Let's go back to our expert Carl Parker for a closer look at where the storms are right now.
Ray, it is a very scary afternoon, and we know folks are going to be on their toes here watching this situation. We're going to be with you all afternoon and all evening to get you through this situation, as we've got a really energetic atmosphere and one that is going to be supportive of tornadoes well into the evening. And we've got some tornado warnings to tell you about right now. One of those in west central Georgia, Harris and Talbot counties. That's going until 2:15. And what we're watching here, as we saw a while ago, is a broad and sort of elongated circulation. So it doesn't appear that it's as likely that it's producing a tornado at this time. Nonetheless, just to give you an idea of where that broader circulation is heading, we'll take that to the northeast. It's going to move up towards Olive Branch and Talbot. So in those areas, just be aware of the fact that you've got a rotating storm coming in that certainly could produce a tornado if it does manage to tighten up here in the next few minutes. Now to the south, Dale, Geneva, Houston counties under warning until 1:15. This storm is coming into Dothan. Unfortunately, we're getting some very noisy returns here, but this is basically where the circulation is, right in there. And so possible tornado coming your way. That's going to be moving into Dothan pretty quickly, coming into Tabernacle 12:55 and moving into Dothan in just a little over 10 minutes or so. So heads up there, be prepared, get ready to get to your safe place if it looks like we've got a very definitive structure coming towards your area. Right now, again, a noisy return, but it's certainly possible that we've got a tornado coming to Dothan. Farther south, Geneva and Holmes counties under warning until 1 p.m. This is a broad but a pretty strong circulation. We got a report from a chaser of a funnel cloud, so at least a funnel cloud has been reported with this storm. Let's take that north. That is coming right up and across the Florida-Georgia state line right now, moving towards Pleasant Home School, getting into black at 12:58, Slocum 1:14. So in all of those areas, be aware, possible tornado coming your way. I'm going to check one more thing here because it is a fairly strong circulation. Let's look and see if we see any evidence of debris. Not seeing that at this time. All that red is showing you where we've got rain and or hail. And if we see some blue or green values right in the middle of that circle, co-located with that strongest circulation, then there's a chance that we've got debris being lofted into the air. It doesn't look like that at this time, but that is a pretty strong circulation. There's the latest scan right in there. It is broad, as I mentioned, but it's fairly coherent, pretty strong circulation now coming right up and across the state line there. We'll come back to that storm at the top of the hour and get another look at that. New tornado warning to tell you about now for Clark and Washington counties. We've been watching this line of storms for a while now and little kinks developing within the line, and one of those has tightened up enough to prompt the issuance of a tornado warning, and that is now near Chatham. So right in there you see that bright orange and green color. That's your possible tornado there. I'm going to track this out as that moves to the east towards 43 and moving east at about 40 miles per hour, I believe. So that'll be coming towards Route 10, Wagar, Jackson 124, and Choctaw Bluff at 133. Here, too, I'm going to look and see if there's any evidence of debris. I'm not seeing that at this time, but that certainly does not mean that we're not looking at a tornado. So certainly you want to be on your toes in all those towns coming towards Route 43, moving east at about 40 miles per hour. Got a severe warning in Pearl River County, southern Mississippi, looking out for damaging wind and large hail. Another severe warning into St. Tammany, Tangipahoa, and Washington parishes, that going until 1:15. And there's a line of storms now off to the west of New Orleans. A lot of people out and about in New Orleans. I don't know if we have the live picture of New Orleans, but we're wrapping up Mardi Gras activities, getting towards Fat Tuesday coming up here. A lot of people are downtown in the French Quarter, and we've got about 90 minutes or so before that weather comes in, and there certainly could be some severe weather in these areas. I'm sorry, we've got a new tornado warning. Is that right, Matt? Okay, we have a new tornado warning to tell you about. I'm going to get back up here into Alabama. We'll get a better look at that. And sorry, I'm in the wrong spot here. Let me move a little farther to the northeast. And that tornado warning is now south of Montgomery. Lowndes and Montgomery counties under warning until 1:45. And let's take a look at the velocity data here. And so this is now just southwest of Montgomery near Hope Hull. So right in there, just now coming into 65, as a matter of fact, is where we're seeing the circulation, and tracking that forward. That's going to come across Route 31 towards Pike Road, moving into Hope Hull here, or maybe just a little south in the next few minutes. Pinedale at 109, Pike Road at 116, and Mount Meigs at 123. Possible tornado coming your way in those areas. So broadening out the picture, this is where we expect to see the severe weather today. It is going to be centered on southern Alabama and west central parts of Georgia, and we're going to have more on this coming up in a few minutes. Ray, over to you.
All right, Carl, thanks a lot. The severe weather continuing, so people are going to have to stay alert as we get into the southern parts of Alabama, even Georgia now. Snow is going to be slamming parts of the Ohio Valley and the Northeast as Winter Storm Scott continues to bring it all, when the heaviest snow will fall and when the snow is going to be moving out of the Northeast. We're going to time that coming up next.
At Domino's, we love pizza as much as you do. That's why we're giving you Piece of the Pie rewards points for eating any pizza from anywhere.
Pizza from here?
Yep.
How about from here?
That's right.
Homemade pizza?
I guess.
Homemade pizza?
That's a little better.
What about anchovy?
Any toppings.
New York style? Deep dish.
Any pizza.
What?
Download the Domino's app, scan your pizza, and you could earn 10 Piece of the Pie rewards points toward free Domino's pizza.
Oh, no. Are you okay, Mike?
Yeah, got a pretty big fender bender here.
Don't worry. State Farm's got you covered.
That's great to hear. Robin, what's going on?
Are you sure you're okay?
Yeah, I think so.
We're going to get you a tow truck, Mike.
Thank you. Real fender bender going on here. Fender bender. Fender bender. Fender bender. Fender bender. Everybody remain calm. No reason to panic.
Go with the one that's here to help life go right. State Farm.
Parents have a way of imagining the worst, especially when your easily distracted teenager has the car. At Subaru, we're taking on distracted driving with sensors that alert you when your eyes are off the road. The all-new Subaru Forester. The safest Forester ever.
Men, after 40, you have a choice. Live with less drive and less muscle, or get Ageless Male, the best-selling free testosterone booster with over 4 million bottles sold. Ageless Male. Promote confidence, libido, and more free testosterone.
I wanted more from my COPD medicine. That's why I've got the power of 1, 2, 3 medicines, Trelegy.
The only FDA-approved 3-in-1 COPD treatment.
Trelegy, the power of 1, 2, 3. Trelegy, 1, 2, 3. Trelegy.
With Trelegy and the power of 1, 2, 3, I'm breathing better. Trelegy works 3 ways: to open airways, keep them open, and reduce inflammation for 24 hours of better breathing.
Trelegy won't replace a rescue inhaler for sudden breathing problems. Trelegy is not for asthma. Tell your doctor if you have a heart condition or high blood pressure before taking it. Do not take Trelegy more than prescribed. Trelegy may increase your risk of thrush, pneumonia, and osteoporosis. Call your doctor if worsened breathing, chest pain, mouth or tongue swelling, problems urinating, vision changes, or eye pain occur.
Think your COPD medicine is doing enough? Maybe you should think again. Ask your doctor about once daily Trelegy and the power of 1, 2, 3.
Trelegy, 1, 2, 3.
Save at Trelegy.com.
I can just try to... Welcome back to our coverage of severe weather. We're following several tornado warnings right now in parts of the Deep South. A lot of energy in the atmosphere, a lot of wind shear, and plenty of instability. Let's get right into the warnings and show you where these storms are now. One of them is just south of Montgomery, Alabama. That's Montgomery County under warning, and we're looking at a circulation that is now just across 65. It's a more elongated circulation right now, and so it's not quite as concentrated as what we have seen in the case of more well-developed tornadoes. Nonetheless, a tornado is possible, and that's coming towards Snowden, Pinedale, Pike Road, and also Mary by about 123 or so. Another tornado warning to tell you about. Actually, that has been allowed to expire. That's a severe warning now into Columbus, Georgia. To the south of that, though, we've got a severe warning now for Dale and Geneva and Houston counties. That is going until 1:15. Here, too, looking at sort of a broader, more elongated circulation right in there. So does not appear to be as threatening a storm as what we were watching earlier. Nonetheless, let's track it out coming towards Dothan, towards Kinsey, Webb, and Pleasant Plains in the next few minutes here. Pleasant Plains, I should say, in about 10, 20 minutes or so. South of that, Geneva, Holmes County is under warning until 1:30. Now, in this case, we are seeing a more well-developed circulation. It is certainly a stronger circulation, and it's broad, but it's very well developed, no question about that. And so taking a look at where that's going to be headed in the next few minutes, that'll come across Route 79 moving towards Slocum, as well as Malvern. In both of those locations, you want to get to your safe place, lowest, most interior room, as many walls between you and the outside as is possible. Want to take a look and see if we can see any evidence of debris in this case. Not seeing that at this time. In the red there, that deeper red, we're seeing rain and hail, which is more rounded. If it's more irregular, tree debris, structural debris, it shows up as blue and green colors, and we're not seeing that co-located with that circulation, which does not mean that we don't have a tornado. It just means that we're not seeing any evidence of debris right now. Now, off to the west of that, this is in southwestern Alabama, Clark and Washington counties. This is going until 1:15. A tornado warning here moving towards Jackson. This is a big line of storms, but circulation has developed within that. And this is a pretty tight little area. In fact, you've got a broader rotation, but then a tight little circulation right there. I don't know if you can see that, that I think could actually be a tornado vortex signature. So let's take that forward, and that's going to be moving towards, it's coming into Rutan right now. So you've got no time if you're in Rutan. It's coming in now. Immediately take cover. Wagar at about 119, Carson 124, and Jackson at about 129 or so. New tornado warning in Georgia. Thank you, Matt. Let's go back over to Georgia and get a look at that. And that is now right in here. And so west of Albany there, Randolph County under warning until 2:30 Eastern time. And I'm going to look at the velocity data, and a pretty strong circulation showing up there just south of Cuthbert. So let's take that forward and see where that's going to be headed. Coming up towards just passing Route 216 right now, moving towards Goff's Mill, Pachitla, and Randolph Southern School, and then also Shellman at 217. So we've got a lot going on today, a lot of things happening. Again, as I mentioned, a very energetic atmosphere. Tornado watches going until this evening. There are tornado watches in Louisiana, southern Mississippi, as well as southern Alabama, northwest Florida, going until 6 o'clock tonight. And then another tornado watch area that includes central and even parts of North Georgia going until 8 o'clock tonight, right up into the south side of the Atlanta metro area. There's going to be a lot of rain in Atlanta, but we've got so much shear in the atmosphere that there might occasionally be some rotating storms. Very energetic atmosphere, a lot of wind aloft, and we like to see where the strong wind aloft is getting together with the instability. And so you can see exactly where that's happening this afternoon. That's precisely where we've got this maximum severe weather threat for tornadoes, maybe some strong tornadoes, damaging wind, maybe up to 75 miles per hour, and large hail as well. There's a look at the low-level shear in the atmosphere. Winds coming out of different directions in the lowest 5,000 feet of the atmosphere, and that creates spin in the atmosphere, which gets into these storms. That's the beginning of the process that leads to tornadoes. So we've got a 5 out of 10 on the Torcon. That's a pretty significant value. 50% chance of a tornado within a 50-mile radius, Ray. And again, as we mentioned, this is going to go on for quite some time. It's not going to wrap up in the afternoon.
Yeah, dangerous Sunday afternoon indeed. Thanks, Carl Parker. And we'll continue to keep you updated on the warnings as they occur. Carl's going to be right on it, but it's going to help you keep yourself safe, too, and getting your family to a safe place quickly during severe weather can mean the difference between life and death. Meteorologist Mark Elliott now with the safest place in your home to take shelter.
When you're under a tornado warning or you hear a tornado siren, and especially if you can see that tornado, now is not the time to grab that smartphone and start filming. Instead, it's time to get inside and seek shelter. You run inside to seek shelter from the storm and come up to your bedroom, which normally is pretty safe, until, of course, a tree crashes through your roof. Coming down to a lower level, great idea. Trying to see where the storm is outside those windows, bad idea. It was a good idea to leave the windows, but this exterior wall doesn't help you as much as you might think. No, tree limbs or 2x4s, they're like toothpicks when winds get as fierce as in these storms. Yes, your garage is on ground level and has 4 sides. No, it isn't going to protect you the way you want it to. So this is where you do want to be. Not only a low level, but the lowest level you've got. And you want to put as many walls between you and the storm as possible. And then you stay here until it's safe. Because this room could be the one thing that saves your life.
All right, we'll continue to monitor Scott here as we head on through the next couple of days. Looks like we've got about 6 to 12 hours of snow to go here. Places like Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Harrisburg and New York. Alerts even for New York City for accumulating snowfall. Some places could get half a foot of snow or more, and it's coming on the first weekend of meteorological spring. All right, let's get back now to the active weather, more severe weather coming in. Let's take back to Carl now.
Yeah, that's right. I've got a new warning to tell you about now in central Alabama. So we've been watching the one that is southeast of Montgomery. Here is a new warning near Selma. That is Autauga, Dallas, and Lowndes counties going until 2 p.m. And there we see a rotation showing up just to the east of Selma. So it's this area right in there. It's sort of a broad circulation right in there. Possible tornado developing in that area, and it's going to be coming towards the 65 corridor, moving into Statesville here in the next few minutes. Autaugaville at 122, Prattville at 140, and Millbrook at 148. And we're going to have much more on all of that coming up in just a few minutes here. All right, we want to talk about the cold side of the storm as well, and the snow that is ongoing here. And it is mostly light snow right now. We think the rates are going to come up considerably later today. See how it's winding down in Illinois for the most part. Going strong, though, in parts of Indiana and Ohio, developing in the D.C. metro and across a lot of southern Pennsylvania. And it's going to be stepping up later tonight across many parts of the Northeast. This is our forecast showing you that snow developing, spreading all across the Northeast pretty rapidly into this evening. That's 8 o'clock tonight. So snow really starting to take off there from eastern Pennsylvania up into southeast New York, getting into southern New England. Really tough forecast, we think, in parts of southeast New England in particular, as it's going to be most likely around 35 degrees in Boston. So you might see some mixing in there, especially on the south side of the metro, and that would certainly bring down the totals. 11 p.m. going strong, anywhere from the Poconos into the Catskills, southern New England across Hartford, right up into Boston. Rain snow line lurking just off to the south, getting up into Boston by tomorrow morning. And then finally, it all winds down going into the afternoon. So at this point, we got a pretty broad swath of a few to several inches. And then the heaviest of snows looks like it's going to be anywhere from southeast Pennsylvania, Lancaster and York counties up into northern Jersey, as well as into parts of Connecticut. And then also here into Massachusetts. Could be a little stripe of 8 to 12 there. It's possible that that gets into Boston. But again, if we get some rain mixing in on the south side, that's going to bring those totals down a little bit. So we want to get out live now to Chris Warren, and he is in Louisville. And Chris, that's a really beautiful scene you've got behind you there.
Yeah, and Carl, fortunately, where we are right here, it's going to stay generally a beautiful scene and not a lot of snow expected, so not looking for massive impacts. There are some concerns we'll discuss going forward later on tonight and the next couple of days, talking about icing. But right now, just enjoying the scene. And it's cold. I mean, temperatures in the mid-30s and not too far away from the dew point, also in the lower 30s. So we're seeing a little bit of fog showing up right over the Ohio River, and the wind is making it feel about 10 degrees colder than what the thermometer is reading. But we're standing underneath the Interstate 65, and I'm coming out now. That's why you may be noticing a little bit more snow. The snow, while it seems like if the wind wasn't blowing, it would be a little bit lighter, it has certainly just within the past hour really started to accumulate. And actually, just noticing something else. If we take a look here, you can see evidence of the direction of the snow because it's all going on one side. And even like right here, there's some gaps. You can kind of make out. Actually, if you look this way, Chris, you can see it's straight white on the ground, right? You can see it's just snow. But then you bring it around and looking sideways, it almost looks like there's stripes. And then you can even see some of the grass. So that's just a testament that we're not seeing the snow fall complete vertical. It's being blown down a little bit. We want to come over here and show you at least one of the positive things. The fact that we're not seeing a ton of snow, haven't yet today. This has been as heavy as we've seen all day long. Traffic is fine. Going here, we're right next to the northbound lanes heading into Indiana from 65. Over there, that's Interstate 65, the other bridge that's heading southbound, and then Interstate 64 as well, going through Louisville, and eventually taking you all the way to St. Louis. The road is fine. It's bare and wet. It's the grassy areas. It's the areas that are not going to warm enough to melt the snow, or haven't warmed or stayed warm enough to melt the snow. But take making Interstate 65 southbound, eventually getting down into the south, into Alabama. We're still dealing with a mess when it comes to severe weather and what's turning out to be a pretty dangerous day. Let's go back to the studio now with Ray.
All right, thanks a lot, Chris. And we'll continue to watch Chris as he's out in Louisville. This blast of winter weather will help areas in the Northeast make up for being behind schedule on their snowfall. Jim Cantore shows us where it will make a big difference.
After 2 inches of snow yesterday, our 5th highest snow total of the season here in Boston, we are awaiting the big one, what could be our biggest snowstorm of the season so far. 15.9 inches is all we've had. March on average, 7.8 inches. We'll see if we go above average for the first time all this year, this season. But what a beautiful spring day here in Boston. You can see people behind me here just enjoying the frog pond, as it's called here on the Boston Common. Everybody out enjoying some skating, some time with friends. And you know, you don't really, the fact that it's in the low 40s, which is about average this time of the year, when that sun hits you, it's just beautiful to be outside. All right. The poochers were out as well. Dogs out here this morning running around, chasing anything they could find out here. And, you know, it's actually a little bright, too, because we got that fresh 2 inches of snow that we had on the ground yesterday. And, of course, there are people visiting from out of town. We got a chance to talk to one young lady who's very happy to be out of the rain in Chattanooga.
So we're from Chattanooga, Tennessee, and we got a lot of rain and flooding. And we just left and came and arrived yesterday afternoon.
So it's nice to see the sun, isn't it?
Yeah, and the snow.
And, of course,
Very
what's
nice.
it doing in Chattanooga right now?
Raining again.
Exactly. It's raining again, so it's nice to be up here. In terms of snow, though, you guys don't leave till Tuesday. You're going to get to deal with the whole storm, right?
Yes.
You don't have to worry about traveling.
No. So we get to walk around and stay, and we're excited to see all the snow because we don't get it back home.
So again, the maximum part of this storm expected to affect Boston tonight, midnight to 5 a.m. Looks like we'll deal with our most intense snowfall, tapering off tomorrow morning. The big question is, will we be on a delay for area schools, or will we cancel it altogether? We'll see. The good news is, after the snow tomorrow, the sun comes back out, we get up into the low 40s, we help melt some of that snow, and then we get ready for the big freeze. Temperatures will cool off to the 20s for highs for Wednesday and Thursday. I'm meteorologist Jim Cantore in Boston, Massachusetts.
Thanks, Jim. And yes, that will be the question. Do we delay school? Do we open school? We'll see. These days, things are a little bit different than back in the day. Pittsburgh, you'll be in the upper 20s to near 30 degrees. We go through tonight. Notice most of your snow comes this afternoon until about 10 p.m. So you do have snow in the forecast, but most of it should be cleaned up by tomorrow morning. And that snow's going to stick, especially once you lose the insulation or the sun coming in even to help heat up the cloud tops. Even during the day, that can help. 1 to 2 inches, basically the forecast in and around Pittsburgh. So you've got snow, 1 to 3, temperatures falling into the 20s as that snow comes down. So it'll be pretty when you wake up tomorrow morning, but snow should be done falling. Albany, you do have snow in your forecast, but the advisories are just south. So you get into Greene County, that's where the advisories pick up. Albany County specifically not in that. And temperatures upper 20s to near 30 degrees overnight. Most of the snow between about 7 and 5 a.m. So most waking up for school or for work tomorrow morning, probably going to see the snow just tapering off and probably be in the process of cleaning it up, throwing down the material on the roadways. And plowable, probably be a lot of sparks, though, flying from some of those plows with this little snow on the ground. So the Northway, even on the through as you go westbound, there'll be a little snow. There may be more south and east as you get into the Rensselaer Plateau and out into the Helderbergs and even into the Berkshires. You get into western Mass and Vermont, maybe 2, 3, 4 inches. So it's not a big snow event. A few inches further on down toward the south. So a potential 1 to 3, a little more south of you at Albany. You're going to be falling into the 20s and most of the snow ending by sunrise. In the newest severe weather warnings and watches coming up next, and Torcons as high as 5 today. A jaw-dropping demonstration of the power of tornadoes, plus the bitter blast of Arctic air that will send temperatures tumbling in the wake of Scott. Stay with us all day long for special coverage of the multitude of threats coming from Winter Storm Scott.
I can't believe it.
That there's a lobster in our hot tub?
Oh, you guys, there's a jet. Oh, I needed this. No, I can't believe how easy it was to save hundreds of dollars on our car insurance with Geico. We could have been doing this a long time ago.
So you guys stay in the hotel?
Yeah, we just got married.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm afraid of commitment. You know, and being boiled alive. Oh, shoot.
Believe it. Geico could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
That guy's the worst.
Dealing with psoriatic arthritis pain was so frustrating.
My skin, it was embarrassing.
My joints, they hurt.
The pain and swelling.
The tenderness.
The psoriasis.
I had to find something that worked on all of this.
I found Cosentix. Now, watch me.
Real people with active psoriatic arthritis are getting real relief with Cosentix. It's a different kind of targeted biologic. Cosentix treats more than just the joint pain of psoriatic arthritis. It even helps stop further joint damage. Don't use if you're allergic to Cosentix. Before starting, get checked for tuberculosis. An increased risk of infections and lowered ability to fight them may occur. Tell your doctor about an infection or symptoms. If your inflammatory bowel disease symptoms develop or worsen, or if you've had a vaccine or plan to, serious allergic reactions may occur.
I got real relief.
I got clear skin and feel better.
Now, watch me.
Get real relief with Cosentix.
I'm Jimmy Dean, and I wish I could tell you how I feel about a morning like this. And that includes a good hearty breakfast. You need something to kind of warm the whole body up and get it going. It's a great way to kick off your day.
Na 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 na. Hey, hey, hey. Goodbye. Hey, goodbye.
The world's first 6-function multi-pro tailgate, available only on the next generation GMC Sierra.
I use my new Steel building as a workshop and a garage, and I love it.
And now you can get the steel building you've always wanted and save big. For a limited time, Future Steel, the world's leader in steel buildings, is selling off selected models at rock-bottom prices. Save $2,000, $5,000, $8,000, and up to 50% off on selected models during this limited time inventory sell-off.
Future Steel buildings are perfect for sheds, workshops, and garages.
They're easy to assemble and just as easy to customize for a fantastic finish inside and out. And if you act now, you can get a Future Steel building and save big during their inventory sell-off. Simply call the number on your screen for a free brochure and a list of sell-off sizes and prices. But don't delay. All buildings are sold on a first-come, first-served basis, and no reasonable offer is refused.
You'll love your new Future Steel building.
Call 1-800-829-0454 now for a free brochure and list of sell-off buildings.
Time to go to work.
We do whatever we have to do to keep this highway open.
Whoa.
This is crazy. Heavy Rescue, tonight at 9 on the Weather Channel.
A winter storm warning is in effect. Currently in our area, 42 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. This afternoon, variable clouds with snow showers. High 43, chance of snow 60%. Tonight, snow likely, low 33. Monday, morning clouds followed by afternoon sun. High 38. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Welcome back. We are following what is shaping up to be a really dangerous day across southern parts of Alabama and also South Georgia. We want you to pay very close attention to the weather if you live in these areas. Got a whole slew of tornado warnings to tell you about. A couple of them now in Alabama. One is northwest of Montgomery, and that is a warning for Autauga and Lowndes counties going until 2 p.m. Not seeing as well developed a rotation. There are a couple of areas where we're seeing some broader rotation. One is there and one is there. And And looks like that one to the north might be tightening up just a little bit now. Let's go ahead and track both of those areas out so we can get a sense of where that's going to be headed in the next few minutes here. Give me just a second. I'm waiting for my computer to respond. I'm not able to get the cursor to show up, and there we go. There it is right there. And so near Otagoville, right there, that's where we have a possible tornado. That would be coming towards Independence and Booth, Posey's Crossroads and Deatsville. Then to the south, maybe some circulation there as well. And that coming towards Wadsworth, Prattville, and also Washington Hill. So a couple of areas that we need to watch within that tornado warning. Then we've got an extension on the warning that is now just southeast of Montgomery and Macon County. A wall cloud was reported with the storm. That's a lowering of the base there, and that shows you the mid-level circulation, mid to low-level circulation developing in the storm that precedes the development of a tornado. But looking at the velocity data in this case, what we're seeing right now is an elongated area, a shear line right in there. So, certainly a tornado could develop in this area and something we want to watch. But right now, I'm not seeing anything that really jumps out. Nonetheless, let's track it out. That coming up towards Shorter, moving towards Laplace 135, and Liverpool at about 142 or so. Then to the south of that, we're getting into west central Georgia right now. And again, a bunch of warnings here. Randolph County under warning, also warning to the north there. Lee and Terrell counties under warning. And then a warning here to the south of that, and that is Terrell County under warning. So there are two separate circulations. One right in here, just south of Dawson. Another one very close to Shellman. Let's take both of those forward and show you where they're going to be headed. The one that's near Dawson is going to be coming up towards Bridges Crossroad, Neami and Starksville. Starkville. Oh, no, that is Starksville. And then also Shellman. The one that's near Shellman, taking that forward, that is going to be moving up towards Graves and Yeomans, Braunwood, and also into Oliver's Mill. These are both pretty well-defined areas of circulation in the storm. I'm going to take a look and see if we see any evidence of debris. Not seeing anything that is really clear-cut at this time. So again, circling these areas right in here and right in there, that's where we're seeing the strongest circulation. What we're looking for is some evidence of some lowered values. We might see that, but that could also be clear air return. So I'm just not seeing anything that is clear-cut at this time. But and actually there's a third rotation that's to the west of that. We'll come back to that in a moment. Also, warning here for Geneva and Holmes counties going till 1:30. This is broadening out, definitely. So it's looking better here. Still seeing some circulation now west of Dothan, but it's not as well defined as it was. Nonetheless, we'll track it up into Dothan, coming into Dothan in just the next few minutes here. So certainly keep your eyes on that one. Then to the west, southwestern Alabama, we've got a line of storms, Baldwin, Clark, Washington counties under warning until 2 p.m. for damaging wind. There's so much wind in the atmosphere. There's a lot of shear, so even the damaging winds could be on the high end. We could be 7